Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Traveling through thousands of realms, starting from obtaining the 10 Marvel Rings. Chapter 81. Sha Yuji looked seriously injured at the moment, and the nine-tailed demon fox's claws directly penetrated him. However, none of the internal organs were damaged. Sha Yuji woke up faintly and immediately realized his condition and immediately activated the reversal technique. At this moment, a conjurer came to Sha Yuji. Sha Yuji, according to the association's spell feedback, you have killed civilians before. The Conjurers Association has special measures to restrict conjurers from attacking civilians. This is an exclusive spell for the person in charge of the Spell Masters Association. Any spell master who kills civilians will be perceived. I didn't take the initiative. Rosen immediately said loudly. Sha Yuji accidentally affected a nearby village when he was fighting the cursed spirit. The conjurer looked at Sha Yuji. He was not sure of the sequence of events. However, if ordinary people are affected during the battle with cursed spirits, they can be accepted by the Magicians Association. Just like in the Battle of Shibuya, hundreds of thousands of civilians were affected. Whether it was the protagonists or the villains, civilians were more or less accidentally injured. Yes, Sha Yuji replied expressionlessly. When I came here, I discovered that this village was raising the cursed spirit with its own beliefs. Then I went to stop it. After the cursed spirit got out of control, it materialized into that nine-tailed demon fox. Satoru and I then started a battle with that nine-tailed demon fox. Quote, in this case, I will report your matter to the superiors, but you will be temporarily suspended until the results are available. I don't care what the outcome of your treatment of me is. Sha Yuji has now had other ideas. If Rosen and Gojo Satoru were not present, perhaps he would have killed all the magicians in front of him. At this moment, 99 Yuki came over. Woo, Jia, long time no see. Rosen held his chin and looked at the 99 Yuki in front of him, then at Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji. Woo, Jia, why do I feel that she is much more mature than you two? Juju Yuji raised his eyebrows, glanced at Rosen from the corner of his eyes, and asked, Satoru, can such a guy teach you? Although I hate to admit it, this guy is very strong. Gojo Satoru said. Really, 99 Yuki is also quite belligerent. It's a pity that she is currently in a magic meltdown state. Otherwise, she would really want to test Rosen's strength. People from the Conjurers Association were left at the scene to look for clues about the nine-tailed demon fox. Rosen and others left directly. Teacher, do you think I'm cruel? Sha Yuji asked. You are Sha Yuji, not Sha Yuhei. Please don't ask Chong Yao style questions, okay? Who is Sha Yuhei? Nothing. Rosen waved his hand and glanced at the two followers following him. Those two, come here. Mimiko and Nanako immediately ran forward. Although they were not very old, they could roughly tell that Rosen and Gojo Satoru were both close to Sha Yuji. Mimiko and Nanako looked very thin, and there were some whips under their sleeves. They come from a family of spellcasters, but after their parents died, certain spells on them made the villagers think that they were unlucky people. Then they experienced years of torture and torture. When Sha Yuji came to the village, he found Nanako and Mimiko who were locked in a dog cage. Coupled with the fact that those villagers constantly refreshed the lower limit of Sha Yuji's understanding of people, Sha Yuji finally became completely blackened. Come, look into my eyes, Rosen said to Mimiko and Nanako. The two little girls raised their heads and looked into Rosen's eyes with innocent eyes. Rosen's pupils turned into 3 Magatama Sharingan, translating the seal. The next moment, the two little girls passed out. Sha Yuji immediately reached out to catch the two little girls. Teacher, what did you do to them? I gave them a small gift. One day in the future, they will be grateful for this small gift. Sha Yuji also breathed a sigh of relief. Since Rosen was not going to attack them, he would definitely not break his promise. Teacher, what's going on with the nine-tailed demon fox's cursed spirit? Gojo Satoru asked. That's my little pet, Rosen said with a smile. How do you know that guy is related to me? Before today, I had never heard that a cursed spirit of that level still existed in this world. Gojo Satoru said, and you appeared just after it left. Doesn't this explain the problem? Sha Yuji suddenly grabbed Rosen's collar in excitement and shouted angrily, Teacher, you almost killed me. Rosen wiped his face. Your saliva sprayed on my face. You almost killed me, shouldn't you apologize to me? You still have the nerve to say that after 4 years of teaching you, you can't even defeat my little pet. You have disappointed me so much. For a moment, Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji were speechless. There is no way that nine-tailed demon fox is really terrifyingly strong. If it wasn't Rosen's pet, their family would probably have a banquet. Teacher, if I give up my identity as a conjurer in the future, or even give up the rules of a conjurer, will you blame me? The next moment, Rosen suddenly grabbed Sha Yuji's chin. I told you, don't talk to me in a Chong Yao-like tone. Just do whatever you want. So you agreed. What I mean is that if you really make up your mind, even if you face me in the future, you should already be prepared. Sha Yuji nodded, but his heart felt extremely heavy. After all, facing Rosen, he couldn't think of any way to defeat him. As long as he thought that one day in the future, he would meet Rosen on the battlefield, he felt that his future was slim. On the way back to the Magic College, Sha Yuji left quietly. Gojo Satoru and Rosen both knew about Sha Yuji's departure, but they did not stop Sha Yuji's departure. Half a year later, Sha Yuji had successfully adopted the Penxing sect for his own use. On this day, a woman came to the headquarters of Penxing sect. Sha Yuji gathered a group of orphans, all of whom were gifted with spells. Sha Yuji plans to train them into his own backbone. However, the talents of these children are average and cannot be said to be mediocre. It can only be said that compared with Rosen's disciples, they appear to be much mediocre. Sha Yuji looked at these children, a little disappointed. I'm really not a good teacher. At this moment, footsteps appeared behind Sha Yuji. Perhaps I can help you achieve your goal. Sha Yuji frowned slightly. Someone could actually appear behind him silently. Turning his head, Sha Yuji realized that it was a woman. He didn't recognize it when he heard the voice just now. This woman is very beautiful, but she has a row of stitches on her forehead. Who are you? Sha Yuji stared at the woman in front of him. You can call me Kaori, my husband's surname is Knotweed. Then what's your reason for coming? Cooperation. Kaori polygonum cuspidatum. Then do you know what I want to do? Sha Yuji's tone was full of doubts. After all, not many people can agree with his ideas now. Human beings are inferior existences and they should be eliminated. Kaori Knotweed said. Sha Yuji fell into silence. His ideas were not so extreme. He wanted to build a world dominated by magicians, and did not think about annihilating all mankind. Seeing Sha Yuji's silence, Knotweed Kaori smiled. Neutrality does not exist in this world. If your philosophy is ambiguous, then I can already foresee your future. So what's your plan? Whether it is your ideal or my ideal, the first thing you need to obtain is power, a power strong enough to sweep everything. Sha Yuji nodded in approval. They might have some differences in philosophy. But for the first step of the plan, he very much agreed with Kaori Knotweed. Just thinking about facing Rosen in the future makes his hair stand on end. And similarly, if you have the power of Rosen, no matter what you set as a goal, it will become very easy. So what are your plans? Rosen is a high school student in spells and has been on standby for half a year. Except for Riko Tenuki, there are no students under her name. Noctua looked at Rosen in the right way. Luo, you have not accepted students for the past 6 months. This is not the attitude a teacher should have. It's not that interesting, Rosen said weakly. Half a year ago, he realized the field expansion by transforming into a 9-tailed demon fox, so in the past 6 months, he has been familiar with the field expansion while studying the simple field. After half a year, he has become familiar with the simple field. And from the simple field, he successfully improved his own field. It's just that the unlimited technique still hasn't been found. Sure enough, other people's techniques are not so easy to master. But it's not absolutely impossible to learn. Just like Yamada no Orochi's infinite reversal technique, Rosen learned it and refined and improved it. Therefore, Rosen still firmly believes that he will be able to master unlimited techniques. I am now studying to make myself stronger so that I can better perform my duties as a teacher. I don't care, you pick a few students. Noctua Jungdao threw a pile of student information to Rosen. Okay. Rosen picked up the information and looked at it for a few times, and suddenly saw a familiar name, Nanami Kento. Rosen thought of Nanami Kento's exclusive technique. His exclusive technique was also very interesting and worth cultivating. That's it. Rosen threw Nanami's information to Noctua. As this young man, are you sure? Yi Mazongdao saw that the current evaluation level of Qihai Janren was only the level of a third-level magician. He didn't seem to have anything outstanding. Why did Rosen choose this child? Needless to say, Rosen's former student, Pang Da, was the most successful and precious work of Noctua Zhengdao. She is a quasi-special level person with a high income, and she is an extremely rare auxiliary magician. Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuji are both super-level conjurers. Uchida Riko has only been exposed to magic for a year and a half, and now she is already a quasi-special level magician. She is just around the corner to become a special level magician. And why did this Qinghai founder catch Rosen's eye? Nanami Kento is currently in an empty class. It was already past class time and still no one came. Just when Nanami Kento thought no one would come, a girl much younger than him came in, and there was a panda corpse next to the girl. Riko couldn't help but look surprised when she saw that there was another person in the class. Who are you? Hello, I am Nanami Kento. I was notified to report to this class. Nanami Kento stood up immediately and said, "Oh, that's it, the teacher may still be sleeping in." Tenuki Riko said, "Panda, go and inform the teacher." Nanami Kento felt uncertain about his future. Sleeping in and still talking so confidently, this teacher seems a bit unreliable. Panda was even lazier than Rosen. He would lie down on the table after arriving at class. Can't you just call that guy? Why do you need me to make a special trip? You are the teacher's assistant. That's in name only, and I'm still a 5-year-old. Tenten Riko gave an awkward and apologetic smile to Nanami Kento, then took out her mobile phone and dialed Rosen's number. What's up, teacher? You have a new student reporting today, did you forget? Oh, by the way, you take him for a walk around the school. I have something else to do, so I'll hang up first. After hanging up the phone, Rosen put the quilt back on him. Riko Tenten had a dark look on her face, smiled at Nanami Kento again, and then walked out of the classroom. Looking from a distance towards a wooden structure house halfway up the mountain. In the day, Riko formed a seal with her hands, a magic technique. Supernova. Boom. A white light suddenly bloomed halfway up the mountainside, engulfing the wooden house. Ah! Rosen was wearing pajamas and rushed down the mountain angrily. Tenouchi Riko. You are too presumptuous. I will strip you naked and hang you at the school gate for 3 days and 3 nights. Teacher, your new student has just arrived. Can you maintain your image as a teacher? Rosen looked at Nanami Kento, who came out of the class. It doesn't matter, the days are long anyway, he will know my true identity sooner or later. At this moment, Nanami Kento's mood was very complicated. The good news is that my teacher is very strong and can at least survive that level of attack unscathed. The bad news is, his teacher is a pervert. Rosen adjusted his pajamas. Since you are here, let me test your strength. Nanami Kento did not have stage fright. Teacher, what do you need me to do? Use your magic to attack me. Teacher, are you sure? Of course, don't worry, I'm very strong, teacher. Teacher, no matter how powerful my technique is, it will always be dangerous. Your technique is not the strongest, but teacher, I am the strongest. Nanami Kento felt that Rosen was bragging. After all, in his opinion, the contemporary Rokugan of the Gojo family was the strongest. However, since Rosen made such a strong request, he agreed to it. Nanami Kento's eyes suddenly became sharp and he formed seals with his hands. 10 strokes of incantation. Everything is falling. This technique of Nanami Kento is regular. In terms of level, the 10-stroke curse in Waluo Waluo is higher than the unlimited spell. After all, the unlimited spells are only difficult at best, but the 10-stroke spell, Waluo Waluo, really touches the boundaries of the rules. The function of this technique is to forcibly create a weakness on any enemy or even a dead object. As long as the weakness is attacked, it will definitely cause huge damage. Of course, this technique will divide the length according to the strength of the enemy. The stronger the strength, the shorter the length, and then create a weak point at a length of 7, 3. This is just like Nanami Kento's own length is 10 meters, and his own body will have a weakness at 7 meters. And if the strength is as strong as Rosen, then the length will be very small. At the same time, as the strength of Shinran Nanami increases, the length of the enemy will also increase. The next moment, a scale appeared in Nanami Kento's eyes, and Rosen's weakness in the 7:3 ratio appeared in his eyes. But at this moment, Rosen has turned into a file size like a glass bead, and it is not particularly difficult to hit the weakness of the 7:3 scale at this scale. Of course, the advantage of this technique is that range attacks can also be effective. A look of surprise appeared on Nanami Kento's face. This was the first time he saw such a small-scale target. "Try to use your strongest attack to attack my weaknesses," Rosen said. Nanami Kento was even more surprised that his new teacher actually knew his technique. Immediately, Nanami Kento took out a handkerchief from his pocket. With a shake of his hand, the scarf was immediately attached to the magic power and became as hard as steel. Nanami Kento has excellent physical skills and swordsmanship. He undergoes special training in order to hit any enemy's weakness. "Teacher, you are likely to be seriously injured with this blow from me," Nanami Kento reminded him again. He didn't want the news to come out on the first day of school that he beat the teacher and seriously injured him. "Don't worry, even if you blow the teacher's head, you can't kill him," Tenuki Riko said from the side. Although Nanami Kento felt that Riko Tenuki was bragging, it at least showed that Rosen was really strong. He is not confident enough to kill anyone instantly. After all, his technique can cause a lot of damage to weak points, and even powerful people cannot kill with one hit. Nanami Kento began to target Rosen's weaknesses. Although Rosen shrunk a lot under his spell. But Rosen stood still, which made it easier for him to aim. The scale in Nanami Kento's eyes finally locked on the 7:3 position on Rosen. The next moment, Nanami Kento suddenly attacked, as fast and fierce as a cheetah, and the hardened handkerchief in his hand was like a knife blade. Hiss! A stream of blood spattered from Rosen's chest, and a mouthful of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Rosen was shocked. This was the first time he had been hurt like this since he came to this world. Gojo Satoru didn't do it, Shayuji didn't do it, and Yamada no Orochi didn't do it either. But now a little entry-level magician has done it. The injury is either minor or serious. An ordinary conjurer will basically lose his combat effectiveness after receiving such damage. But for Rosen, it was just a few minutes of self-healing time. This attack is not only physical damage to the body, but also involves rules. It was the rules that hurt Rosen. This attack has a lower attack limit, that is to say, as long as Nanami Kento attacks a weak point, even an enemy that is 100 times and 1,000 times more powerful than Rosen will still suffer the same damage. Because this is limited by the rules, no one can be exempted. Nanami Kento immediately stopped his hand after the attack and turned to look at Rosen. "Teacher, how are you?" "It's okay, it's an interesting injury," Rosen said. His external injuries have completely healed, but there are still some internal injuries. Before the power of the rules dissipates, his injury cannot be self-healed. Under this kind of damage, neither his own self-healing ability, nor the reversal technique, nor the healing ninjutsu will work. Of course, this rule does not last long. For Rosen it only lasts a few minutes. Nanami Kento's spells are very good. If he had a little more blood, as long as his physical skills or spell power could reach the level of Fushihei Shir or Gojo Satoru, then his spells would reach an unprecedented level of terror. "I think you need to make a change." "Teacher, what changes do I need?" "I suggest you go for plastic surgery." Rosen looked at Nanami Kento seriously. "Teacher, I'm not ugly, am I?" If it were in a youth campus comic, he would be a teacher who rarely appears. If it was in a workplace drama, he would be a mean boss. But this is a hot-blooded comic. The handsome one has a high probability of becoming a member of the protagonist group, and the risk factor is greatly reduced, while the ugly one has a high probability of becoming a villain. The most taboo thing in hot-blooded comics is characters who are neither beautiful, handsome, nor ugly. Nanami Kento is neither beautiful, handsome, nor ugly, and the key is that he is not strong. You are not ugly, but you have a cannon fodder face. With this face, even if you have the strength of heaven, you will not live to be 30 years old. Of course, putting aside the appearance issue, Nanami Kento's personal abilities are very good and are above the standard. Although Nanami Kenran thinks there is something wrong with Rosen's character, Rosen's teaching level is really strong. Within 3 months after enrolling in school, Nanami Kento learned more than a dozen kinds of spells, and his physical skills also improved by huge amounts. And his biggest gain was the improvement in his proficiency in the 10-stroke spell. As a student of Rosen, he still had plenty of opportunities to try out his 10-stroke curse. He didn't have the chance to try the 10-stroke spell on weekdays. After all, most people wouldn't be able to give him a chance to use the 10-stroke curse, nor could they withstand his 10-stroke curse. And Rosen would let him experiment with the 10-stroke spell on himself every day. And Rosen will adjust his own strength based on the strength of Nanami Kento. On this day, Rosen was training Riko Tenuki and Kento Nanami, and Noctua approached Rosen. Luo, a curse spirit, appeared in the middle school in Xinxiang district. It is tentatively designated as a first-level curse spirit. A second-level curse master has already died. Do you want to go and have a look? Noctua asked righteously. For your students, practice your hands. Okay. Rosen nodded. Accepting this kind of commission can not only earn commissions, but also train students. There is no need to do it yourself, and the distance is not far. Rosen has always accepted such commissions. Bang bang. Rosen clapped his hands and called Tenuki Riko and Nanami Kento to come to him. There's good news, you have practical classes again. Nanami Kento curled his lips. In the past few months, he had practiced it several times without any commission. Every time he defeated the cursed spirit, all he got was a bowl of ramen. Nanami, do you have any objections to this practical class? No, I'm happy to have practical lessons again. After school in the afternoon, students came out of school one after another. Rosen took Riko Tenuki and Kento Nanami and stood in front of the gate of the middle school. Looking at the feng shui pattern of this school, it's like a locking formation. Teacher, what is the locking array? Look at the layout of this school. It's just a round shape. It's surrounded by camphor trees. Camphor trees are yin and cold in nature. Sunlight cannot enter the middle. The yin energy gathers and never disperses. This kind of place is most likely to breed cursed spirits. Rosen didn't understand feng shui at all, but that didn't stop him from commenting on the school's layout. However, both Riko Tenten and Kento Nanami felt it made sense. Because Rosen is so powerful, whatever they say is right. At this moment in the school, most of the students have almost left, and Teisho Otogayu and Rika Kimoto are cleaning in the corridor. Yuta, can we go to the ramen restaurant on the corner later? Okay. Yutai Otoko had an innocent smile on his face. Knock knock knock. There was a sound of footsteps, which was particularly loud in the empty corridor. The young couple raised their heads, but saw no one coming on the aisle. The two of them didn't worry about it. Kimoto Rika chuckled and said, Yuta, do you know about the weird stories in our school? Otoko Yuta raised his head and looked at Kimoto Rika with a somewhat curious look. I don't know since when, there has been a campus legend circulating in our school, the non-existent Class 7. Rika Kimoto said, whenever the school is over, there will be a shadow coming out of the classroom that does not exist. Students who wander around the school or stay in the school will be taken to a classroom that does not exist, and then become a shadow of this classroom. Quote. Yi Guyutai raised his eyebrows slightly because there was a shadow behind Chi Benlixiang. It's not surprising that there is a shadow, but the shadow is slowly extending from Kimoto Rika's feet to the wall. Eureka! Otoko Yuta suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Kimoto Rika. Ah! Kimoto Rixiang suddenly became shy. At this moment, the shadow behind Kimoto Rika suddenly broke away from the wall and stretched out a hand to pinch the back of Kimoto Rika's neck. Otoko Yuta's expression changed slightly, and he pulled Kimoto Rika behind him. What? Kimoto Rika looked at Otoko Yuta in confusion. Before Kimoto Rixiang finished speaking, the shadow behind him had already pulled Kimoto Rixiang's arm. Rika Kimoto looked back and saw the black shadow grabbing her. Ah! Otoko Yuta pulled Kimoto Rika up hard and ran away. At this moment, black shadows appeared one after another on the wall, and they began to chase Otoko Yuta and Norimoto Rika. Gradually, the black shadow behind the two people became like a tide. A black shadow also appeared in front of them, blocking them in the aisle. The two tried to struggle and call for help, but they were quickly engulfed by black shadows. The black shadow tore at their shadows, and their bodies also suffered the same pain. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the sunset outside the corridor window. Otoko Yuta and Kimoto Rika stared blankly at the figure at the same time. The figure faced the setting sun and pointed towards the aisle. Technique: Annihilation. A black light burst out from the figure's fingers and directly penetrated the outer wall of the corridor. A 2-meter-high circular hole appeared on the outer wall. The black light went straight through and hit the inner wall again, leaving a circular hole as well. This black light not only penetrated the entire teaching building, but also all the black shadows on this path were hit by the black light, and all the dozen or so black shadows were reduced to nothing. Riko jumped out of the way and jumped into the corridor. Upon seeing this, the remaining shadows immediately targeted Riko Tenuki. Nanami Kento also followed closely and jumped into the aisle. The handkerchief in his hand turned into a blade, slashing horizontally and vertically to the left and right, and all the black shadows were eliminated. Otoko Yuta and Kimoto Rika were stunned. Before today, they had always lived in the world of ordinary people. Until today, they finally realized how extraordinary this world is. A large number of black shadows once again appeared on the aisles on both sides. In the day, Riko and Nanami Kento immediately separated on the left and right sides to clean up the dark shadows. But after they cleared one group, the second group would appear again soon, and again, the black shadows seemed endless. The two of them spent more than half of their spell power, but they were unable to end the battle. Riko-senpai, what should we do now? Nanami Kento returned to Tenai Riko. Tenten Riko was also a little at a loss at the moment. At this time, a large number of black shadows appeared again on both sides. Maybe we should find the non-existent Class 7. At this time, Kimoto Rika said. What non-existent Class 7? Otoko Yuta, Tenai Riko and Nanami Kento also looked at Kimoto Rika. I heard a senior say that when this school was built, there were originally 7 classes for each grade, and teachers and students had been recruited. But later, for some unknown reason, the 7th class was cancelled, but students were not notified, which resulted in those students who were assigned to Class 7 not knowing about the cancellation of Class 7. At that time, the school director wanted to split the students from Class 7 to the first 6 classes. Quote. Chi Benrixiong paused and continued. But on the first day of school, all the students from Class 7 came, and they gathered in Class 7. I don't know who set Class 7 on fire. There were all 32 people in the class. He died in the class, and since then, the legend of the non-existent Class 7 has been circulating in our school. Where is Class 7? Riko Tenuki asked. I don't know. Just because it doesn't exist, it's called the non-existent Class 7. There are no vacant rooms for classes in the school. Or have they been converted into other activity rooms? Nanami Kento asked. I have no idea. They come from the shadows. Yutai Otogu suddenly said without any clue. Everyone looked at Yigu Yutai. What does this mean? I mean, since they all came out of the shadows, does it mean that Team 7 also exists in the shadows? In the day, Riko made a seal with her hands, then pressed them to the ground, and the spell and fantasy came true. The next moment, ripples spread out in all directions. At this moment, a burning shadow appeared in the shadow of the teaching building. The scene was so eerie, with flames burning in the shadows. At the same time, the teaching building continued to sink as if it was stuck in a quagmire, while the burning shadow continued to rise. At this moment, the entire school and the shadow have completed the exchange. The entire school was plunged into darkness, and at the end of the corridor was a classroom burning with flames. Suddenly, black shadows burning with flames rushed out of the burning classroom. Those dark figures before were all rookies. But each of these black shadows burning with flames has the level of a first-level curse spirit. A total of 32. Riko Tenten is about to activate her technique immediately. Senior Riko, let me go. The newly signed Riko Tenuki used several powerful moves, and the spell power consumption was much greater than that of Nanami Kento. Nanami Kento immediately activated the 10-stroke spell. When all enemies turned into scales, Nanami Kento launched an offensive. In Nanami Kento's eyes, there is no enemy that cannot be attacked. Even if his body becomes insubstantial, he cannot avoid Nanami Kento's attack. And after being trained by Rosen, Nanami Kento felt that the enemies in front of him were all scum. Compared to Rosen's small scale, the scale of these flame shadows in front of him seemed very huge. Nanami Kento rushed into the black shadow of the flames alone, raised his knife and dropped it. 32 flame shadows were killed in an instant. 32 flaming black shadows were killed, but their corpses were sucked into the flame-burning class. When Nanami Ken and Tenuki Riko came outside the burning class, the flames immediately rushed towards their faces, forcing the two of them back. At the same time, the two also felt that there was a more powerful spell in the burning class. That is definitely a super-grade curse spirit. At this moment, the flaming black shadows killed by Nanami Kento were resurrected again and walked out of the class. Both Nanami Ken and Tenuki Riko realized that if they could not kill the special curse spirit, the battle would be endless. Riko-senpai, I will act as these flaming black shadows, and you will kill the guy in the classroom with one strike. Nanami Kento said. Leave that guy to me. Riko Tenuki nodded. Is there anything we can do? Otoko Yuta asked. Stay away, we don't have the energy to take care of you. Nanami Kento said. Otogayu was too embarrassed to pull Kimoto Rika back. Shinhai Jonren once again killed the 32 flaming black shadows. In the day, Riko quickly walked through the long and narrow aisle, avoiding the 32 black shadows of flames. The moment she rushed to the burning class, Tenuki Riko activated the technique, Supernova. An extremely powerful energy shock erupted from Tenuki Riko's fingertips. It directly hit the figure standing on the podium in the class. This blow used almost all the magic power of Riko Tenuki. The figure was instantly wiped out by Riko Tenai's attack. But the next moment, Riko Tenai realized something was wrong. Because that figure is not a special level, it is only a first-level curse spirit. It's just that her attack has been launched at this moment, and it's too late to take it back. At this moment, the ground shook violently, and the burning class suddenly separated from the main body of the teaching building. The charred corpses of those students were attached to the surface of the burning class. At this time, Tenuki Riko and Nanami Kenkai realized that the real special grade was not the teacher standing on the podium, but the classroom originally. Flames spurted out from the classroom window and turned into tentacles, but its target was not Tenuki Riko and Nanami Kento, but Otoko Yuta, who was standing at the back. The expressions of Otoko Yuta and Kimoto Rika changed drastically. Looking at the flame tentacles coming towards them, they had no idea what to do. Sealing technique. King Kong sealing. Suddenly, silver chains fell from the sky and directly wrapped around the burning class. After being entangled, the flames outside the burning class were extinguished, and only the flames were still burning inside the class. Riko and Nanami Kento looked around and saw a man and a woman falling from the sky. The visitors were none other than Shayuji and Polygonum Cuspidatum Kaori. Shayuji controlled the chain and dragged the burning class in front of him. Finally, under the control of the magic spell, the burning class turned into a black pill. Shayuji glanced at the black pill in his hand, opened his mouth and swallowed it. The next moment, Shayuji's expression almost turned into a ball. Shayuji once described the smell of the magic ball transformed by the magic spirit, as if a piece of linen cloth had been wiped with vomit, soaked in the sewer for a week, and then stuffed into the mouth. Kaori looked at the four people present, first at Nanami Kento, then at Riko Tenuki, then at Rika Kimoto, and finally at Yuta Otoko. When she saw Yigu Yuta, her eyes couldn't help but light up. No wonder such a powerful curse spirit breeds here, that's it. Knotweed Kaori admired Otoko Yuta. Hearing this, Shayuji also looked at Yigu Yutai, and the next moment his pupils suddenly shrank. This child seems to have never been exposed to any spells or awakening spells, but his spell power is actually more powerful than himself. What kind of talent is this? He has the strongest spell power without any practice. Converting this child into a cursed spirit and then absorbing it will be of great benefit to your strength and will also speed up our plan. Knotweed Kaori looked at Otoko Yuta with greedy eyes. And their conversation fell into the ears of everyone at the scene word for word. Gia, Riko Tenai called. Riko, what a coincidence. Shayuji glanced at Tenai Riko lightly, but you'd better not stop me, otherwise, I can't guarantee what I'll do to you. What are you going to do to Riko? Come on, tell me. Suddenly, Rosen's voice came, and then fell from the sky. Shayuji's mouth twitched when he saw Rosen. Let's go. Polygonum Cuspidatum Kaori did not obey Shayuji's order and still stood where she was. Shayuji turned to look at Kaori Knotweed. he is not something you and I can fight against now. Really, why didn't I know there was such a person in the magic world? Kaori Knotweed does not have the omniscient ability of Tianyuan, and Rosen is low-key and has the secrecy of a conjuration expert, so Rosen is known to few people in the conjuring world. Haha, isn't this a 1,000-year-old monster brain? Rosen looked at Kaori Knotweed with a smile. If you want to say how attractive the brain is, it is more attractive than most hot-blooded comic book villains. Because she gave birth to the protagonist. Sha Yuji raised his eyebrows slightly. Isn't Polygonum cuspidatum Kaori your real name? Now Hua's face became gloomy, and his eyes towards Rosen became cold. What's wrong? Do you want to kill people and silence them? Rosen's smile remained unchanged. But before taking action, you'd better think carefully about whether you can bear the consequences. After all, I didn't let the tiger go back to the mountain. Habit. Now Hua's eyes flickered, but he ultimately did not choose to take action. Although the current physical strength is quite good, it is barely on par with Sha Yuji at best. Since Sha Yuji was so afraid of this conjurer, he might not be able to gain any advantage by joining forces with him. It would be better to take a long-term approach after going back and at least find out what this guy's technique is. Rosen did not stop them from leaving. After all, he still needed Sha Yuji and Now Hua to deal with Tianyuan. After Sha Yuji and Now Hua left, Now Hua couldn't wait to ask, that person is your teacher? Yes. How big is the gap between you and him? I don't know, I've never seen him attack with all his strength. Sha Yuji said, it's you, shouldn't you also explain your identity? You can call me Kensuo. This body is the body I found temporarily. The owner of this body is called Polygonum cuspidatum Kaori. Kensuo said, no matter what my identity is, at least my goal is the same as yours, which is to subvert this world. A world dominated by ordinary people. Sha Yuji looked away, knowing that Kensuo had other things he was hiding from him. But none of this is important, as long as Kensuo doesn't hinder him. So, can you tell me the information about your teacher now? His exclusive technique is his pair of eyes, called the Samsara Eye. Sha Yuji explained his understanding of the Samsara Eye. As for more information, he felt there was no need to let Kensuo know. In any case, there is no way that Kensuo can defeat Rosen. The only one who can truly defeat Rosen is himself. Kensuo's face turned solemn. Are you kidding me? I'm not kidding. Gojo Satoru and I have worked hard for 4 years and have fought against him dozens of times, but we have never defeated the teacher. We have never even let the teacher use his full strength. This is impossible. Kensuo's tone was a bit stuttering, because he, Tianyuan, and Luyan had been entangled for more than 1,000 years, and the three of them had cause and effect. Every generation of Six Eyes is born, and they are the strongest in the world, and it is the Six Eyes that finally bring peace to the troubled times. Now, an unheard of reincarnation eye appeared. How could he not be shocked? Could it be that this reincarnation eye was inherited from a family older than their time? It seems that I have to find an opportunity to test that guy's strength. Rosen was pacing back and forth in front of Tenai Riko and Nanami Kento. The two of them were like children who had done something wrong. You two disappoint me so much. You two can't defeat a special magic spirit together. When Panda and Nizi were in the second level, they were already able to defeat the special magic spirit. Teacher, that's a special level curse spirit. Nanami Kento felt dissatisfied. Is a special level curse spirit so easy to solve? What's wrong with the special grade magic spirit? It's just a low-end product, and it was created by the kid's unintentional leakage of magic power. Rosen looked at Yuta Otoko again. You kid over there, come here. Yigayuta scratched his head and came to Rosen. You called me. Be my student. Sorry, I haven't thought about it yet. No one in this world can refuse me. If you don't want me to kill your little girlfriend, you'd better be obedient. Otoko Yuta's face couldn't help but turn ugly, and he looked back at Kimoto Rika. Finally, he nodded. I promise to be your student, please don't hurt Li Shang. I'm just joking with you, don't take it seriously, I'm a good person. Yigayutai has a sad face. Would a good guy threaten someone else's girlfriend? Otoko Yuta is a relative of Gojo Satoru, and his bloodline gives him incredible magical power. And his exclusive spells and fields are very powerful, and can even be said to be bug level. It's just that this time Yigu Yutai didn't sacrifice his little wife, and he didn't know if he would awaken his original realm of true love again. Otoko Yuta is also called the Pure Love Warrior because of the name of this field. In the world of magic, there are many geniuses in this era, and Gojo Satoru is undoubtedly the strongest, followed by Otoko Yuta. Even if Otoko Yuta's character can be stronger, maybe he will be as strong as Gojo Satoru. Otoko Yuta's techniques and his domain expansion are both very advanced. Yigayutai successfully enrolled in school and became Rosen's student. In the first month, I imitated Yigu Yuta's technique and awakened smoothly. Come and try it. Use your technique to imitate my technique. Otoko Yuta can imitate any spells and spells. At least in the original work, he can even imitate the moves of Ryokan Sanuo. So Rosen also wanted to see if Otoko Yuta could imitate all moves. Yigu Yutai immediately formed a seal and imitated the technique. Rosen also opened the Samsara Eye at this time. Reincarnation Eye. Shinra Tianzhong. Yigayuta shook his head. Teacher, I can't imitate this technique. It's not that he can't imitate, he can't be released. This technique requires a special organ, the Samsara Eye, or an eye that is powerful enough to carry the technique. Otoko Yuta's eyes were just those of an ordinary person. Even Gojo Satoru's 6 heavenly eyes cannot fully master all the pupil techniques of the Samsara Eye. But Yigu Yuta was unable to release any of them. Rosen frowned and thought for a long time. Suddenly, something moved in his heart, and he raised his head to look at Yigu Yuta. Let's try this move. Rosen raised his finger. Light escape. Laser laser. Yigu Yutai also raised his finger and fired the laser. A thin beam of light shot out from Otoko Yuta's finger and hit a stone several meters away, leaving a hole in the stone. Rosen's eyes lit up. Yes, yes, it can indeed be done. Although Yigu Yutai's laser is hundreds of times less powerful than his. But this means that Otoko Yuta can indeed imitate his own light escape. Continue. Rosen used light escape and streaming light again. Yigu Yutai also imitated it, but Lu Guang's move was too physically demanding. Otoko Yuta's physique has not yet undergone formal training, so it is slightly better than ordinary people. Therefore, Lu Guang's blessing to him is not very great. Then comes the Yata mirror. Boo hoo hoo. Balls of light shot out in all directions. Yigu Yuta is still easy to control. His spell power is so strong that he can perform most of his moves in a decent manner without getting tired. Try this trick. Light escape. Elementalization. Rosen turned into a stream of light and regrouped 10 meters away. Yigu Yuta still knows it at a glance. Rosen originally developed elementalization, but he could not use it until light escape was promoted to blood successor snare. But Yigu Yuta learned and used it in an instant. It's just that this move consumes a lot of money from Yigu Yutai. After all, elementalizing the body requires an extremely huge energy base. If it weren't for Otoko Yuta's huge spell power, he probably wouldn't be able to perform elemental transformation. Otoko Yuta's spell power is the highest in history, no one else. Even those who compete in the peak competition cannot compare to Otoko Yuta. Before he came into contact with the magic world, he only relied on the leaked spell power. You can create a special magic spirit. However, when Rosen used the Great Sun Golden Crow and Tokusu Volley, Otoko Yuta's spell power obviously couldn't keep up. But even so, Yigu Yuta was directly upgraded from the level of a third-level conjurer to a quasi-special level. The main thing is his imitation of light escape. Almost no skill is weak. There are no trigger conditions for Otoko Yuta's imitation. As long as the spell power is enough, he can imitate. However, the imitated technique will be overridden. For example, if Yuta Otoko imitates Riko Tenuki's technique Supernova next time, then Rosen's light escape will be covered. However, as long as the techniques and spells imitated by Otoko Yuta are all stored in his domain, the realm of Otoko Yuta opens up. True and false love is an area with countless swords inserted. Whenever he copies a spell or spell, he will passively inject the spell and spell into the swords in the field. After the Yigu Yutai domain is expanded, whichever sword you pick up will be able to obtain the corresponding spells and spells in the sword. However, Otoko Yuta himself could not determine which technique was injected into which sword. Therefore, Yigu Yuta's field is also known as the lottery field. If the chosen spells are powerful enough, Otoko Yuta can turn the situation around in an instant. On the other hand, if it is useless spells and techniques, then this field will be in vain. After half a year of practice, Yigu Yuta has become very familiar with his own techniques and can use them skillfully. At the same time, he has also become very proficient in swordsmanship. Coupled with his amazing spell power, Otoko Yuta has now barely entered the ranks of special level swordsman. Let's go out and have a big fight tonight, and then I'll treat you to a meal. Rosen patted Yigu Yuta. Teacher, have you received another commission? Nanami Kenrin has 10,000 MMPs in his heart, and every time they do the hard work, and Rosen collects commissions from behind. Rosen led everyone out of the Conjuring College, only to see a girl standing with a sword behind her back at the gate of the Conjuring College. This girl has a ponytail, glasses, and a tall figure, but no one can feel the slightest bit of magic power on her body. When Rosen saw the girl, he immediately smiled and walked up to the girl. Little girl, become my disciple. The girl looked up at Rosen. You should be able to see that I have no magic power. I know, bound by heaven and curse, a second-generation tyrant. Zenuan Maki. Rosen stared at the girl in front of him. This person has exactly the same talent as Fuhei Shear. Moreover, at such a young age, he already possesses the combat power to tear away first-level curse spirits with his hands. Zenuan Maki suddenly drew his sword and struck at Rosen without any warning. Rosen directly stretched out his hand to hold the sword's edge. Chanyuan Maki exerted fierce force, but was unable to advance even an inch, nor could she put away the sword and retreat. Zenuan Maki's eyes showed a look of shock, because the Rosen in front of him did not use any spell power, and simply held the edge of his sword directly with his flesh and blood. Rosen let go of his hand. Zenuan Maki retracted the sword, and immediately knelt on the ground, with his palms on the ground and his head on the back of his hands. Please teach me, teacher. This is Panda, this is Tenai Riko, this is Nanami Kento, and this is Otoko Yuta, they are all your seniors. Zenuan Maki also got to know everyone one by one. Teacher, how well do you know Zenuan? Zenuan Maki asked. More than just acquaintance, I once beat him like a grandson, and I also beat him like a grandson. The addition of Zenuan Maki does not hinder the purpose of their trip. On the way here, Rosen told them about their mission. In Emu Forest, 5 first-level curse spirits appeared here. 3 groups of spell masters came to ambush them, and the whole army was wiped out. Just outside the Emu Forest, 2 more people came from the other road. One of them is Kuju Yuki, and the other is her student, Todo Aoi. Juju Yuji was slightly surprised when he saw Rosen and others. Mr. Luo, are you also entrusted to subdue the cursed spirit? Juju Yuji asked. I'm leading the team for practical lessons. Would you like to compare, which of our 2 students can solve more cursed spirits? Juju Yuji asked. Rosen glanced at the people behind him. You all heard it, there are so many of you, don't lose to this brat. Hey, who are you calling a brat? Todo Aoi looked at Rosen dissatisfied. Although he looks a little anxious, he is only 16 years old now. Kid, I'll kill you. If you dare to act like this again. Rosen glared at Todang Kui. Tongtang, let them know how powerful you are. Juju Yuji said. Don't embarrass me. I got it. Todo Aoi moved her neck and looked very motivated. Rosen's shadow demon quietly attached itself to Zenuan Maki's body. Zenuan Maki originally thought it was some kind of magic technique, but then the shadow demon quietly said a few words in Zenuan Maki's ear. Go in. In addition to Panda, Tenai Riko, Nanami Kento, Otoko Yuta, Zenin Maki, and Todo Aoi entered the forest at the same time. As soon as they entered the forest, Zenuan Maki drew her sword and slashed at Todo Aoi without any warning. Dongtang Kui was startled and hurriedly backed away. Crazy woman, what are you doing? Zenuan Maki had a smile on her face. It's nothing, I just want to kill someone, that's all. Uchida Riko and others immediately stopped. Maki, what's going on? As long as I entangle him and you subdue the cursed spirit, we can win this bet. Zenuan Maki said. Enter me. Todo Aoi looked at Zenuan Maki with a ferocious smile. You really dare to say that? Let's go deal with the cursed spirit. Nanami Kento said. Anyway, Zenuan Maki and Todo Aoi are not really fighting to the death, so it doesn't matter who wins or loses. On the other hand, if they lose in the gambling battle between Rosen and 99 Yuki, Rosen will definitely vent his anger on them. Both Todo Aoi and Zenuan Maki have bad tempers, and they take action directly when they come up. Both of them are masters of physical skills, but Zenuan Maki uses swordsmanship, and Todo Aoi is unarmed, so she suffers a lot. And Zenuan Maki's physique is obviously higher than Todo Aoi. Todo Aoi can only activate her own exclusive technique, Injustice Game. This unjust game played by Todo Aoi is quite a test of IQ. Despite Todo Aoi's appearance, he actually has a very high combat IQ. Todo Aoi only needs to clap her palms or high-five others to initiate the unjust game. Once the Injustice Game is activated, you can switch the positions of two creatures or objects with magical powers. They can be the enemy and yourself, the enemy and teammates, or yourself and teammates. And whether this technique is activated or not depends entirely on one's will. In the original novel, Don Aoi and the protagonist Kazuna, the two of them relied on unjust games to directly defeat the super-level cursed spirit Hana Yu's suspicious life. This technique is very psychologically demanding, because the enemy doesn't know whether he will be switched, nor does he know whether Todo Aoi will activate the technique every time he claps his hands. However, Todo Aoi is now facing Zenuan Maki, the owner of the sky and the curse, with a zero curse power physique. This means that Todo Aoi's unjust game has no way of taking effect. Seeing that Zenuan Maki was about to hit him with a sword, Todo Aoi hurriedly launched an unjust game. Bang bang, but Zenuan Maki was not affected by the unjust game, and the sword edge was already on Todo Aoi's shoulder. Todo Kui opened his mouth. Why weren't you affected by my spell? Your technique. Zenuan Maki looked at Todo Aoi in surprise. I'm sorry, did you activate the technique just now? Today, Todo Aoi has just learned how to master spells from Kuju Yuki. She has just awakened her exclusive spells, and she hasn't had time to learn other spells yet. What he is good at is his physical skills and unjust games. As a result, his physical skills were no match for Zenuan Maki, and his unjust game was defeated by Zenuan Maki. However, Todo Aoi was not a loser and followed Zenuan Maki out of the forest honestly. Todo, why did you come out so quickly? Juju Yuki asked. I can't help it, I'm defeated. Todo Aoi shrugged helplessly. You were defeated. Juju Yuki couldn't help but look at Zenuan Maki. Kuju Yuki was able to choose Todo Aoi as his student because of his unparalleled fighting talent and impressive spell power. In Kuju Yuki's opinion, Todo Aoi's talent is not inferior to his own. Although the time is still short, Todo Aoi has already shown outstanding talents. In time, he will definitely become a super magician again. But now he was defeated by Rosen's students. This made Juju Yuji look a little confused. Is this arranged by you? Yuki looked at Rosen. Why do you think that you, a student, can defeat 4 of my students? Rosen asked. Juju Yuji laughed. I didn't expect him to win. My real purpose is to have a fight with you. Dong Tenkui felt depressed for a while, feeling that she had been tricked by the teacher. Mr. Luo, please enlighten me. Suddenly, 3 terrifying waves of spell power came from the other direction of the forest. Rosen and 99 Yuki looked at the direction of the 3 auras at the same time. A black giant lizard-shaped curse spirit rushed toward them. The giant lizard was 100 meters long, and the ground roared with every step. On the back of the giant lizard, there are 2 spell spirits. They are both normal people, but their spell power is no weaker than that of the giant lizard. 3-headed super magic spirit. The 3-headed curse spirit stopped 100 meters away in front of Rosen and 99 Yuki. At the same time, Kensuo was observing the situation at the scene through the spell. It was he who found these 3 super-level spell spirits. The purpose is to test Rosen's strength. Even if Rosen took over this task, it was arranged by him. These 3 super-level curse spirits are not the kind of mindless curse spirits. Even among the special-level curse spirits, they are still high-end talents. They all have strong combat power and wisdom that is not inferior to humans. Over the course of more than 1,000 years, Kensuo collected many super-level curse spirits and drew up a grand blueprint for them, allowing them to willingly participate in his plan. This is the case with these 3 super-level curse spirits. The largest lizard, its name is Qianmie, and its exclusive spell is called 100 Bones Corpse Return. It can eat a magician or a magic spirit with magic power in a short period of time, or it can also be a magic weapon. All the magic power is stored in his body and then used in battle. It can store up to 10 times the magic power of a special level magic spirit. The other two special level spell spirits are Shuiyu and Yaksha. The three of them are all famous monsters in ancient times. In order to test Rosen's strength, Kensuo specially called out these three special level spell spirits. Of course, it would be best if the three of them could kill Rosen directly. After all, Kensuo's body is almost reaching its limit now, and he urgently needs a powerful body as his carrier. Originally, what he liked the most was Sha Yuji's body. Sha Yuji's spells and spell manipulation techniques were what he needed most. It's a pity that he is not sure about killing Sha Yuji directly and taking his body. So he could only settle for the next best thing and look for other suitable bodies. Rosen and Juju Yuki looked at each other. How about another round of gambling? Juju Yuki asked. Are these three super-level curse spirits the objects of the gambling battle? That's right. There is no need for Kuju Yuki to go out of his way to explain the rules. Rosen can generally understand that whoever kills two, or who performs the best, will win. Is there any prize in this gambling match? Juju Yuki thought for a while. I can come up with 10 first-level spells. Okay, you and I will each use 10 first-level spells as a bonus. The two of them looked at the three super-level curse spirits at the same time. Then, let's begin. Yasha, who was standing on Qianmie's back, took the lead in activating the technique. In Japanese mythology, yaksha eat ghosts. They will pierce the ghosts with wooden thorns, and then tear off the flesh of the ghosts piece by piece. Suddenly there was a wooden thorn in Yasha's hand, and he threw it towards Rosen. Rosen frowned and avoided the wooden thorn's attack. This wooden thorn is very fast, but it cannot attack itself. And Rosen did not feel any fluctuations in the magic power of the wooden thorn's thrown. The wooden thorn sank into the ground behind Rosen. Rosen felt ripples on the ground, and the next moment Rosen's chakra was sealed. Be careful, this wooden thorn has the ability to block the magic power, and it is area specific. Rosen reminded. When Juju Yuji heard this, a look of surprise appeared on his face. In that case, leave these three guys to me. 99 Yuki said. This gambling battle is not over, Rosen said. Yasha did not continue the second wooden thorn attack, but rushed directly to Rosen. Rosen kicked his foot and rushed out like an arrow from Lizan. Kensuo observed the scene and couldn't help but shake his head after seeing that Rosen had been hit by Yasha's spell and Wu Zhang had his life locked. The first move was Wu Zhang's life lock, which was really not worthy of Sha Yuji's reputation as the strongest. Then after Rosen took action, although the speed was very fast, it could only be regarded as pretty good. Not only Kensuo thinks so, but Yaksha also thinks so. The opponent's speed is comparable to his own. Without the blessing of magic power, he already has an absolute advantage. Until Yasha and Rosen faced each other, Yasha raised his claws and grabbed Rosen. But the next moment, Rosen's speed suddenly increased tenfold, and he grabbed Yasha's neck with one hand. Then Yasha experienced the feeling of his neck and spine being forcibly pulled out. Instant kill. Even though Rosen's chakra was sealed, Yasha still couldn't block Rosen's move. Whether it's Kensuo hiding behind the scenes or 99 Yuki on the scene. Or maybe it was Todo Aoi and Zenon Maki standing in the back. They were all shocked by this scene. Zenuan Maki looked at Rosen with bright eyes. This kind of strength, this kind of physique, this is the ultimate she pursues. Kensuo, who was hiding behind the scenes, also understood at this moment that his judgment was wrong. Rosen's previous speed was simply to confuse Yasha on purpose. Rosen dropped Yasha's head and crushed it with his foot. Then he looked at his hands and killed the caster, but the spell was not released yet. It seemed that the spell was of a time-limited type. Then he looked up at Shuiyu and Qianmie. Shuiyu and Qianmie did not flinch because Yasha was killed instantly. Shuiyu immediately activated the domain expansion. Shang Shui was invisible. When Juju Yuji saw this, he immediately used a simple field to neutralize Shuiyu's field expansion. Rosen's magic power is now banned. Once he falls into the enemy's territory, it will be very dangerous. At this moment, Qian Mie crashed into 99 Yuki. Shuiyu's domain expansion is open and has no boundaries. In an instant, a radius of 100 meters was covered with ice and snow. Rosen's feet were immediately covered in ice and snow, and then the surface of his body began to be frozen. This is the expansion of Shuiyu's domain. The snow is invisible. With the blessing of the sure hit effect, any enemy in the domain will be completely frozen, and the ice cannot be broken. Shuiyu raised his hands, and an ice thorn several meters long appeared above his head. As Shuiyu pushed his palms forward, the ice thorn suddenly pierced into Rosen's body, which was frozen into an ice sculpture. The ice thorn came from Rosen's chest. It penetrated from the front, penetrated from behind, and penetrated into the ground behind. Then came the second, third, and fourth roots. Under such an attack, everyone felt that Rosen would definitely die. Let alone a human being, even a cursed spirit will definitely die if it is harmed like this. Zenuan Maki's face turned pale. Did the teacher she just recognized die here before formal teaching began? 99 Yuki tried several times to break through Senmi, but Senmi stood in front of him forcefully. As long as it rushed forward regardless of its huge amounts of body, there was nothing that 99 Yuki could do. Shuiyu felt that Rosen was bound to die, so he dismissed Shang Shui's invisibility. At the same time, the ice on Rosen's body also began to fade. Everyone finally saw clearly the injuries on Rosen's body. 4 huge amounts of ice spikes penetrated Rosen's body. Just when everyone thought Rosen was dead, Rosen raised his head at this moment. Is your attack over? Rosen raised his head and looked at Shuiyu. Shuiyu's expression changed drastically, and he immediately raised his arms again, condensing an icicle more than 10 meters long, and threw it at Rosen. Rosen raised his right arm, looked at the icicles coming towards him, and slapped them casually, sending dozens of tons of icicles flying hundreds of meters away. Then Rosen casually pulled out the ice spike stuck in his body. After the ice thorn was pulled out, the shocking wound healed. Although the infinite reversal technique has been sealed, Rosen's own super physique is still there, and his powerful Muji self-healing ability is still there. If it weren't for the purpose of confusing Shuiyu, these ice spikes wouldn't even be able to scratch Rosen's skin. After all, he was only sealed with chakra, not deprived of his physique. However, the sure hit effect of the field expansion did cause him a lot of trouble. Without the ability to use chakra, he would not be able to destroy the field in advance. Moreover, the freezing effect cannot be broken, and Rosen is a living target during the freezing process. Everyone was once again shocked by Rosen's terrifying vitality. Even cursed spirits don't have such strong vitality, right? Is this guy really a human? Then it's my turn next. Rosen grinned. Shuiyu immediately activated the technique. Qinfeng Snow Forest. Shuiyu activated all his spell power and launched his exclusive spell. Icicles appeared on the ground and headed towards Rosen. Rosen took a deep breath and punched out from the air. This is his full punch. The icicles in front of him shattered one after another, and countless fragments were shot back. Shuiyu wanted to escape, but under the pressure of Rosen's punch, his legs felt like they were filled with lead and he could not move an inch. The ice fragments all over the sky seemed to condense into the shadow of a giant fist, hitting Shuiyu's body heavily. Even everyone who was not facing the punch felt the oppression caused by the punch. Shuiyu's body shattered like an icicle in front of him, turning into ice slag that filled the sky. Rosen looked at Qian Mie on the other side. It was at this time that Rosen's chakra recovered. Qian Mie did not hesitate to launch his own domain to expand. The wind rusts and the stone withers. His domain expansion is closed. As long as the enemies wrapped in his domain expansion will be petrified, all physical strength will disappear and they will be as brittle as stones. Rosen will not give any enemy a chance to expand their territory this time. Light escape. Streaming light. Rosen condensed a lightsaber in his hand, and his body turned into a golden beam of light, passing by at an incredible speed. At the moment when Qian Mie's closed realm had not completely closed, Rosen had already appeared on the other side of Qian Mie. Qian Mie's realm then faded away, and after about a second, Qian Mie's lizard head slid down from his neck. At that moment, Rosen exceeded the speed of sound 10 times, and no cursed spirit could stop such a speed. Everyone present, as well as Kensuo who was hiding behind the scenes, were speechless. Qian Mie, Shui Yu, and Yaksha, the 3 special-level spell spirits are among the best in the world of spells. But in front of Rosen, they were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Rosen spent almost no effort. Even when Rosen was first hit by Wu Zhang's lifelock and the spell's power was sealed, he still won so easily. 99 Yuji was even more shocked. She had been fighting Qian Mie for a long time, and she deeply felt how powerful and difficult Qian Mie was. But in front of Rosen, it was just one move. How powerful is this guy? What a loser bet. Rosen glanced at Qian Mie's body and stuffed it directly into the twisted space. The twisted space had not eaten for a long time, so it was time to give the twisted space a midnight snack. 10 days Riko, Nanami Kento, and Otoko Yuta came out of the forest. It only took the 3 of them half an hour from entering the forest to destroying the first-level curse spirits. They all felt that they performed very well. Teacher, do we win now? Nanami Kento asked. Well, I won, I'm back. Rosen waved his hand dully. Watching Rosen leave with his students, Todo Aoi walked to Kuju Yuki. Teacher, have you ever beaten him? If you want me to die, just say so. 99 Yuki previously felt that even if Rosen was stronger than him, he was only too strong. But when she saw Rosen's fighting power, she could deeply understand the differences between people. At this moment, Kensuo has also fallen into self-doubt. Have I lived on a dog's belly for more than 1,000 years? I feel like even if I take out all my cards, this guy can kill me. It's understandable to kill special-level magic spirits in an instant when they are at their peak. There are always a few freaks in the magic world. Gojo Satoru can do it, and he can do it too. But it is really unheard of to be so cruel after having the power of a curse sealed. Kesuo now has to consider including Rosen in the social security ranks. As we all know, Kensuo is a well-known military strategist, politician and old silver coiner. As long as he identifies someone as a threat, he will carry out targeted plans. For example, Tianyuan, Wuho Satoru, and now Lawson. In the original work, Kensuo once said this when he attacked the Nexing Palace. Tianyuan spent 1,000 years hiding in the Nexing Palace, but he actually spent his time in the world of magic. In 1,000 years, he is more familiar with the world of magic than anyone else, and understands magic better than anyone else. His strength and experience are unmatched by anyone. At that time, he had already obtained Sha Yuji's physical body, so at that time, regardless of strength or ability, he was qualified to say this, even though he was slapped in the face by Juju Yuji after saying this. However, Kensuo doesn't have a clue right now. After all, he knows too little about Rosen. In the darkness, Sha Yuji's room was still lit with lights. Kensuo knocked on the door. Sha Yuji opened the door and looked at Kongsuo. What's the matter? After learning about Kensuo's identity, Sha Yuji went to investigate Kensuo's past. The more Sha Yuji investigated, the more frightened he became. He even began to regret cooperating with this old silver coin. So now whenever Kensuo appears in front of him, he is cautiously on guard. I want to know Rosen's information. You didn't tell all Rosen's information last time. Sha Yuji's eyes looked at Kensuo with a little more meaning. Have you tested the teacher? Yes. Tell me what the result of the test is. Sha Yuji said. Then Kensuo told the whole process of the war between Qian Mie, Shui Yu, Yaksha and Rosen. After a short silence, Sha Yuji said, I have already mentioned his Samsara Eye bloodline, and his exclusive technique is light escape. The move he used to kill Qian Mie is light escape. Flowing light. At the same time, he also has elementalization, which can avoid all attacks, and a condensed lightsaber, which has powerful killing power and cutting effect, and a laser, which has terrible penetrating power. If it attacks a building or the ground, it will cause powerful damage. Force. Sha Yuji explained his understanding of light escape in detail. Because Rosen often uses light escape to fight him and Gojo Satoru, he is relatively familiar with light escape. According to the teacher, light escape has 2 extremely powerful moves, which he calls the ultimate killing moves. However, I have no way of knowing the specific effects. What is the level of his spell power? Sha Yuji thought for a while and said, if there is a level above the special level, then he is above the special level. If the special level is the highest level in the magic world, then there is only one special level magician in the world, and that person that's him. Kensuo was a little frightened when he heard Sha Yuji's evaluation of Rosen, and also had another idea. If he can obtain Rosen's body, then all of Rosen's power will belong to him. And this power can allow him to achieve his ultimate goal, his true goal. He and Tian Yuan have the same goal. Or maybe Rosen is standing at the end. Kensuo had never wanted to obtain a human body so much for a moment. Even Sha Yuji's physical body has never made Kensuo so desired. Both Kensuo and Sha Yuji fell into silence. They were both thinking about the same problem, defeating Rosen. Although their purposes are different, that kind of unfathomable strength gave them a headache. But it is precisely because of their strength that they are eager to win. Kensuo is even considering whether to start the Death Journey. Death Return is an experimental game that opens a large barrier in a certain area, then restricts certain rules in this area, and then plays a battle royale. If we use Kensuo's words, the ultimate goal of death reincarnation is to optimize the power of spells and spells, so that all ordinary people can become spellcasters. However, Tian Yuan once said that the ultimate goal of Death Retreat is to simulate the period of spell melee in the Liang Mian Sinuo era, and then create a strong person of the same level as Liang Mian Sinuo. As long as the journey of death and destruction continues, one day a strong man with the level of Shu Nuo will be born. Therefore, the Death Return enchantment must abide by some specific rules, and even the managers of Death Return cannot violate them. That is, as long as they are in line with the long-term development interests of Death Return, managers cannot veto them. The coverage of Death Retreat is very wide, and as the creator of the Death Retreat enchantment, Kensuo can adjust the ultimate goal of Death Retreat according to his own interests, such as encircling and killing Rosen. Kensuo finally made a decision, but starting the journey of death and destruction will not happen overnight, and it cannot be started after several years of preparation. Rosen plans to train all of his students to be at least special level. It's not a problem for Riko Tenten and Yuta Otoko. Their talents determine that the lower limit will not be too low. Although Zenuan Maki has no magic power, her extreme physical potential also destined her to be the second generation of Tianyu Tyrant at the lowest level. The most troublesome one is Nanami Kento, whose death in the original work is quite unexpected. A man who spoke loosely, but was more serious than anyone else, died in the plot in the end. However, Nanami's biggest problem is that his upper limit is not high. Shinran Nanami, who possesses the 10 strokes incantation technique, is most suitable for precise attacks. Close combat physical skills are undoubtedly the most suitable for him, but he is just like an ordinary person who wants to train to become an Olympic champion. It cannot be said that there is no hope at all, but it is very difficult. In other aspects, they are at the level of ordinary people and are quite mediocre. Since you can't let him develop in a certain direction, let him develop in an all-round way. Comprehensive development requires a lot of time and energy, as well as a lot of practical experience. After all, it is one thing to learn a spell, but it is another thing to be able to use it in actual combat. Rosen taught him all the 5 major escape techniques of the ninja system, including transformation, substitution, duplication, sealing, and illusion. When he goes to sleep, Rosen will give him a magic spell to make him fight even in his dreams. Rosen felt that every family in the magic world had their ancestors as common people. Their ancestors were able to rise to prominence and eventually left a legacy of blood. So why can't Nanami Kento be the ancestor who suddenly rose to prominence? Just like in the ninja world, the source of the blood inheritance limit is also civilian ninja. Moreover, the chakra in the ninja world and the magic power in the magic world are the same thing, but they have different names, so the two have many things in common. At first, Nanami Kento couldn't understand. After all, the other classmates didn't have that hard work, so he felt like he was being targeted by Rosen. The following year, although I still couldn't understand it, I was used to it. Rosen began to teach Nanami Kento more profound things, that is, the nature of curse power, and the changes in the nature of chakra in the ninja world. At this time, Chinhai Jonren had already vaguely noticed what Rosen wanted to do, or what he wanted to do. After having an in-depth understanding of the changes in chakra properties, Nanami Kento already had a preliminary concept. In the last year, Nanami Kento finally developed his own blood inheritance limit, the art of hundreds of refinements. It's not the awakening of the technique, but the true blood inheritance limit, just like the 6 eyes of Gojo Satoru. When the development is successful, Nanami Kento can realize the significance of all the training Rosen has given him over the past few years. Teacher, you took away all the good students. It's really too much. Gojo Satoru had already heard that Tenai Riko, Nanami Kento, Otoko Yuta, and Zenin Maki all successfully obtained special grade evaluations. He also trained the first batch of students, but the ones with the best results were at the level of a first-level magician. At the same time, he also understood how difficult it was to train a super magician. Isn't there a new student coming soon? How about we compete this time? Gojo Satoru thought for a while and nodded, okay. In the past few years of his teaching career, Gojo Satoru's own strength has not declined, but has made further progress. The two walked to the principal's office together. Noctua Jungdao couldn't help but become curious when he saw the two people arriving. Why are you here together? Select new students. Have any new students enrolled recently? Hearing this, Noctua took out the freshman information and threw it in front of the two of them. You take your pick. Gojo Satoru flipped through a few pages, and his eyes suddenly fell on one of the documents. Fushiguro K. Gojo Satoru remembered what Fushiguro entrusted him with before killing Fushiguro Megumi a few years ago. He had investigated Fushiguro Megumi's information after the fact, and he felt it was time to fulfill his responsibilities. Over the years, he has been secretly protecting Fushiguro Megumi, preventing people from the Zenuan family from causing trouble to Fushiguro Megumi. I want this guy. Gojo Satoru handed Fushiguro Megumi's information to Noctua Masamiki. Noctua looked at the information and nodded, then looked at Rosen. How's it going? Have you found the student you like? Rosen put down the pile of materials in his hand. There were no special students, or there were no students that stood out to him. Those who can make Rosen's heart flutter must either have a special bloodline, be highly talented, or possess a special technique like Nanami Kento. After looking at the information about Fushiguro Megumi selected by Gojo Satoru, a smile appeared in his eyes. I also have someone selected, but it's not in the information. Gojo Satoru was a little curious about what choice Rosen would make. Rosen obviously made the decision just now after seeing Fushiguro Megumi's information. But he shouldn't be so shameless to cut himself off, right? Teacher, this is the person I chose, you can't take it away. Don't worry, I think he is very suitable for you. Rosen smiled and patted Gojo Satoru on the shoulder, and then went out. Fushiguro Jinji has a son and a daughter. The son is Fushiguro Megumi, and the daughter Fushiguro Sumiki is the stepdaughter. In fact, Fushiguro Megumi is not from the Fushiguro family, because Fushiguro Jinji is a daughter-in-law of the Fushiguro family, so Fushiguro Jinji and Fushiguro Megumi are not actually from the Fushiguro family. On the contrary, Fushiguro Sumiki is a pure member of the Fushiguro family. The Fushiguro family is not a Gosen family, but it is still a big family. When Fuhashir and his second wife were there, the two children were still doing well. However, after Fushiguro Jinji and his wife passed away one after another, the siblings were kicked out of the Fushiguro family. If Gojo Satoru hadn't secretly supported them, they would have had to perform on the streets. The current Fushiguro Sumiki should have fallen into a coma at exactly the time when she was cursed with flesh. 1 year later, Fushiguro Sumiki will be captured by the ancient magician Wan. Rosen came outside the rental house where Fushiguro Sumiki and Fushiguro Megumi lived. Knock knock knock. Fushiguro Megumi opened the door and saw Rosen standing outside the door. Fushiguro Wei was vaguely alert. Who are you? The smile on Rosen's face gradually became abnormal. I'm a bad person. Fushiguro Megumi immediately stepped back, but the next moment, Rosen grabbed Fushiguro Megumi's collar with one hand and swung it out. Fushiguro Megumi turned out of the corridor, and outside the corridor was the 5th floor. Fushiguro Megumi hurriedly used his technique. Megumi Fushiguro inherited the lineage of the Zen family, and awakened the Zen family's 10 shadow techniques that had been rare for hundreds of years. The 10 shadows are 10 special level curse spirits that were surrendered by the Zen masters hundreds of years ago and became the Shikigami of the Zen masters. As long as you can tame the Shikigami, you can use them. The so-called taming is to defeat them. And precisely because of his technique, Fushiguro was sold to the Zenuan family for 1 billion yen by Fushiguro when he was still alive. The Zenuan family originally planned to train Fushiguro Megumi as the next generation head of the Zenuan family. It's just that he was afraid of Gojo Satoru and never succeeded. 10 Shadow Method. Shrimp. A large 2-meter-long toad appeared directly below Fushiguro Megumi. The toad opened its mouth and spit out its tongue, which was more than 10 meters long. It caught the fallen Fushiguro Megumi and then safely caught it in its mouth. Toad, send me up. Fushiguro Megumi jumped up behind Toad. Toad suddenly jumped up to a height of more than 10 meters, and Fushiguro Megumi was about to jump back to the corridor on the 5th floor. However, Princess Rosenjung was seen walking out of the rental house holding the unconscious Fushiguro Sumiki. Put down, sister. Fushiguro Megumi was furious. You must know that after his father passed away, his sister took care of his daily life. In his mind, Fushiguro Sumiki is more important than his unremarkable father. Weak people are not qualified to make conditions, haha. Rosen laughed wildly. Big Toad immediately shot his tongue towards Rosen. Rosen moved to avoid the big toad's tongue, and in an instant he was on the big toad's back. He stepped hard, and the big toad and Fushiguro Megumi immediately fell down. When Fushiguro Megumi raised his head again, he found that Rosen had disappeared with Fushiguro Sumiki. Fushiguro Megumi roared. Fushiguro Megumi summoned his black and white dog Shikigami and tried to find his sister, but the black and white dog Shikigami found nothing. Fushiguro Megumi couldn't find her sister and was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. The initiator had just brought Fushiguro Sumiki to his residence at this moment. Rosen checked on Fushiguro Sumiki. At this moment, Fushiguro Sumiki's soul is sealed, so it's not a big problem. Receiving the body is slightly different from seizing the body in cultivating immortals. Seizing the body is basically a person with a high level of cultivation, who directly uses the power of the soul to forcibly seize the body of the host and destroy the soul of the host. The body of the magic world is a little more complicated. The caster is now integrating his spell power and spells into Fushiguro Sumiki's body bit by bit. The advantage is that once the reincarnation of the body is completed, all the memories, abilities, spells, and even the spell power of the body will be owned by the caster. The disadvantages are also obvious. Once the process of reincarnation is destroyed, the previously transferred things will be lost. Therefore, this kind of reincarnation carries considerable risks. And the caster will naturally be fully prepared. Take Fushiguro Sumiki's seal at this moment, for example. Once the seal is forcibly peeled off, the seal will directly detonate the curse and destroy Fushiguro Sumiki's body. Rosen thought about how to break this seal. Suddenly, Rosen thought of a way. Hey, Jia, your phone number hasn't been changed yet. Rosen called Sha Yuji. Teacher, what's the matter? Sha Yuji was also surprised that Rosen actually called him. Find me a body. What kind of person is needed? Ordinary people, or spellcasters, or spell spirits. It's enough for ordinary people, Rosen said. An hour later, Sha Yuji arrived at the place agreed with Rosen. Sha Yuji threw a scroll to Rosen. This seal scroll was taught to Sha Yuji by Rosen. Teacher, how much do you know about Kensuo? Sha Yuji asked. Not much. I don't know anything about his technique, but I know he is interested in your body. What is his purpose? Final evolution, Rosen said. As a 1,000-year-old monster, he and Tianyuan have been fighting for thousands of years, but they also have the same goal, but they have chosen completely different paths. Teacher, what about you? Me, I may be pursuing becoming a god just like them, but unlike them, I know how to walk my own path, while they are groping hard on their own path. Sha Yuji is a person with great love, and his character also makes him go to extremes, just like the king of dance in the ninja world. Okay, I won't tell you any more. If someone sees me with you, a traitor who is a magician, it will be troublesome. You, a scum of magicians, please leave quickly. Sha Yuji is so angry that his teeth are itching. If you use people, look forward, and if you don't use people, look backward. If I don't beat you out in the future, my surname will not be Sha Yu. Rosen returned to his residence with the body, only to find Panda in his room, and guarding Fushiguro Sumiki's bed. Teacher, where did you kidnap this girl? You can't commit a crime. Get out of here. Rosen kicked Panda away. Help me get this girl out. Teacher, do you want to do something immoral outside the house? Even if you want to do it, you have to do it inside the house. It is simply shameless to do it outside. Can you shut your mouth? Rosen said with a dark look on his face. After Panda carried Fushiguro Sumiki to the open space outside the house, Rosen's hands formed a seal, a secret method. Reincarnation from the dirty land. Gradually, a tall figure appeared in front of Rosen. Fuhashir looked down at his hands, with a bit of confusion on his face. I'm not dead. No, I'm dead. Fuhashir looked at Rosen and understood instantly. Luo, you woke me up. Panda looked at Fuhashir in surprise. He didn't know yet that Fuhashir was already a dead man. He thought Rosen was using some kind of summoning or space teleportation spell. Rosen pointed to Fushiguro Sumiki lying next to him. This, Sumiki. Fuhashir looked worried. Although she is a stepdaughter, Fuhashir still likes this little girl very much. Especially after her mother passed away and she was running business outside, Fushiguro Megumi was helped to take care of her by Sumiki. What's wrong with her? Fushiguro Shiji immediately leaned down and checked Fushiguro Sumiki's condition. It's just that Fuhashir couldn't understand, and he didn't have any magic power himself, so he could only look to Rosen for help. She was used as a victim by an ancient sorcerer. Fuhashir immediately understood the situation. This kind of flesh curse was very troublesome, and could even be said to be unsolvable. But Fuhashir still looked at Rosen. Luo, you have a way, right? Of course, otherwise what do you think I summoned you to do? Do you need my cooperation? Rosen explained the situation to Fuhashir. In other words, you want to transfer Sumiki's soul into my current body, and then forcibly break the seal. Yes, but now you are a dead man. Once this body is destroyed, you will disappear forever, including your soul. Are you still willing? There is nothing I don't want to do. Sumiki is a good child. If I can do something for her after my death, I will be happy. Fuhashir did not hesitate, but said in an extremely calm tone. Panda stared at Fuhashir with wide eyes. Are you dead man? Is this a cursed skeleton? What a strange guy. Fuhashir also looked at Panda with a scrutinizing gaze. Then I'll start, Rosen said. Come on. Fuhashir also nodded cautiously. Rosen's eyes turned into samsara eyes. The way of the world. The art of absorbing souls. Soon, an illusory figure floated from Fushiguro Sumiki's body and was captured by Rosen's right palm. This is the soul. Panda looked at Fushiguro Sumiki's soul curiously. Although he often encounters cursed spirits and souls are completely different concepts. Shut up. Rosen glared at Panda. Fuhashir was also afraid of an accident, so he glared at Panda with a fierce look. Rosen carefully controlled Fushiguro Sumiki's spirit body and integrated it into Fushiguro Shir's body. Fuhashir felt something strange about his body, as if something had been stuffed into it, making it heavier. What's next? Do you need my cooperation? Fuhashir asked. Just stand still and don't move. Rosen's reincarnation eyes looked at Fuhashir. Hungry Ghost Path. Ninjutsu Devouring. Among the 6 paths of the reincarnation eye, the Hungry Ghost Path has the ability to swallow ninjutsu, and the sealing technique can also be used. So Rosen directly activated the ability of Hungry Ghost Path to swallow the seal on Fushiguro Sumiki's soul. And at the moment when the seal was forcibly removed, the seal on Fushiguro Sumiki also triggered the final safety bolt, which immediately triggered the curse power in Fushiguro Shir's body. But where did Fuhashir get his magic power? So Fuhashir didn't even feel it, and everything was over. Ah, what's wrong with me? Suddenly, a girl's voice suddenly came out of Fushigur's mouth, and at the same time, his movements showed the panic and coquettish attitude of a girl. Rosen and Panda both took a deep breath. I'm blind. Rosen and Panda were bleeding from their chichao. What's going on? Fuhashir returned to normal. Rosen checked Fushiguro Sumiki's body to make sure there were no more backlashes left in her body. After that, she used the soul-absorbing technique of the samsara eye again to replace Fushiguro Sumiki's soul back into her own body. After Fushiguro Sumiki's body returned to her own, she suddenly sat up, looked left and right, and finally fixed her gaze on Fushiguro Shir. Dad, Fushiguro Sumiki called. Fuhashir showed a gentle smile. It was hard to imagine that the sky and the tyrant would have such expressions. Sumiki, you have grown up. Dad, Haven't you already? Fuhashir smiled. I am indeed dead. In order to save you, he will soon be wiped out. Rosen said. Fushiguro Sumiki immediately pounced on Fushiguro and embraced Fushigiro's broad mind. Dad, I'm sorry that I have to worry about you even after you die. Fushiguro gently stroked Fushiguro Miki's head. I'm very happy that I can still help you. At this moment, Fuhashir seemed to have holy light descending on him. Fuhashir also closed his eyes slightly, waiting for the final moment to arrive. But, 10 seconds later, 20 seconds later, nothing happened. Fuhashir looked at Rosen. How much time do I have? Ah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The reincarnation of dirty soil is immortal. Rosen said with a smile. Fuhashir looked at Rosen with a dark expression on his face. You did it on purpose, right? Yes. Jin Meiji, do you want to be my student? Rosen asked. Fushiguro Sumiki looked at Fushiguro Shir, who nodded. Follow Luo and practice well. Teacher, Fushiguro Sumiki called. By the way, why am I here? Where is Megumi? Oh, I snatched you away from home, but a spiky-headed kid stopped you, and then I beat him half to death. Is Wei the spiky-headed kid you're talking about? Fushiguro Jinji and Fushiguro Sumiki had dark lines on their faces. Teacher, stop joking. Okay, it was indeed a joke. I only broke one of his legs and didn't kill him, so don't worry. How long can I stay in this state? Fuhashir asked. It's probably enough for you to see your son again, Rosen said. Dad, I'll take you there. That's not possible, Rosen said. Shir can go, but Sumiki can't. Why? Let him have an enemy in his heart so that he can become stronger, and then when he becomes stronger, he comes to me. I let Sumiki fight him, and then he accidentally kills Sumiki. What do you think of this plot? Teacher, you must be a devil. Chapter 91. 3 days have passed since the registration time, but Fushiguro Megumi still has not come to the school to register. Gojo Satoru felt depressed, but he still found Fushiguro Megumi's rental house in person. Outside the rental house, Gojo Satoru found that the door of Fushiguro Megumi's house was ajar. Gojo Satoru pushed the door open and found that the room was dark without opening the curtains. My heart skipped a beat. Fushiguro Megumi wouldn't have been killed, right? Entering the living room, you saw a figure curled up in the corner of the sofa in the dark space. He didn't know how long he had been sitting there. Gojo Satoru secretly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Fushiguro Megumi was fine. Suddenly, Fushiguro Megumi rushed towards Gojo Satoru. When Gojo Satoru saw this, he hit a heartbreaking kick, causing Fushiguro Megumi to hold his stomach and roll. Kid, what are you doing? Gojo Satoru asked. Give me Sumiki. Fushiguro Megumi growled, holding on to the edge of the sofa, standing up with difficulty, her eyes filled with anger. Gojo Satoru showed some confusion on his face. Sumiji. That sister of yours, what happened to her? Aren't you with that group? I'm from the Conjuration College, and I'm your teacher. You should have reported here 3 days ago. 5 days ago, someone broke into my house and robbed my sister. Teacher, can you help me find her? Gojo Satoru thought for a while and dialed Nanami Kento's phone number. Senior Satoru, what's the matter? Nanami, I need to find someone, do you have any idea? This requires a tracking type of spell, which I don't know how to do. Although Nanami Kento mastered a large number of spells, all the spells he learned were combat or auxiliary spells, and there were no such purely side spells. But you can ask the teacher. I can't do it, but the teacher will definitely do it. Gojo Satoru patted his head. Yes, the teacher must be fine. Let's go, I'll take you to meet someone who can help you find your sister. Is it really possible? Fushiguro Megumi raised his head, with a strange light in his eyes. No problem, that guy can probably do anything. Fushiguro Megumi immediately followed Gojo Satoru to the Magic College. Arriving halfway up the mountain, outside Rosen's residence. Just as Gojo Satoru was about to knock on the door opened. The next moment, Fushiguro Megumi was like a crazy leopard, suddenly pounced on Rosen, and punched Rosen in the face. Rosen raised his foot and kicked Fushiguro away. Gojo Satoru was confused, what was going on? Fushiguro Megumi wanted to charge forward again, but Gojo Satoru picked up Fushiguro Megumi. Wei, what are you doing? He is the one who stole my Sumiki. Fushiguro Megumi pointed at Rosen. Gojo Satoru looked at Rosen in surprise, while Fushiguro Megumi gritted his teeth. Give Sumiki back to me. You're talking about that little girl. I'm so sorry. She's already dead. I killed her myself. Haha. Rosen opened his arms. Gojo Satoru looked at Rosen. Teacher. Why are you doing this? Why, of course it's to cultivate an opponent worth fighting. You, Jia, Riko, Yigu, you are all too weak. I need an opponent who can rival me. Rosen with an arrogant face and a look of madness in his eyes. Fushiguro Megumi, hate me, remember me forever in your mind. You will be tortured for this until you are not qualified to fight with me. Fushiguro Megumi's eyes were red, and she looked at Rosen with hatred in her eyes. I will kill you. I will kill you now. Fushiguro Megumi quickly formed seals with her hands, the 10 shadow technique, and the black and white double jade. I saw 2 big dog shikigami, black and white, emerging from the dark shadow at Fushiguro Megumi's feet. Black jade, white jade. Kill him. 2 big dog shikigami suddenly pounced on Rosen. Rosen raised his finger and aimed a laser beam at Baiyu, directly piercing the shikigami of Baiyu. Blood was soaked around Fushiguro Megumi's feet, and Kuroyu jumped in front of Rosen. Rosen raised his foot and kicked Black Jade away. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Shiratama's body, her body trembling slightly. You killed Baiyu. How dare you? You don't overestimate your capabilities. Rosen looked at Fushiguro Megumi contemptuously. Gojo Satoru grabbed Fushiguro Megumi. You can't beat him now. Rosen looked at Gojo Satoru with a smile. Satoru, train him well and work hard to please me. After all, if he cannot reach the height I expected, then he will die. Gojo Satoru glanced at Rosen helplessly. Fushiguro Megumi tried to break free from Gojo Satoru's hand, but Gojo Satoru silenced him completely with a punch. Teacher, what are you doing? It's nothing, I just think it's interesting. He has the qualifications to beat me. Rosen said. What about his sister? You are my student now. When your student seeks revenge from me, I will ask his sister to come out and fight him. Do you think this scene will be interesting? Teacher, you are so boring. Gojo Satoru was quite speechless at Rosen's bad taste, but is this kid really that talented? Can he even defeat you? It's not because of his high talent, but because he is the ultimate shikigami among the 10 shadow techniques, Moxaluo. Moxaluo is the strongest shikigami in Zenuan, and can even be said to be the strongest shikigami in the world. It's just that for hundreds of years, no one in the Chanyuan family has been able to tame Demon Zuluo successfully because Mo Zuluo is too strong. The so-called subduing is actually when the magician and the shikigami enter a shikigami space to fight. If the shikigami is defeated, the subduing is successful, and the shikigami can be controlled and used freely in the future. And if the taming fails, the only outcome will be death. There is a sword wrapped around Mo Zuluo's right hand. This sword is bound with a positive spell energy full of destructive power. Any cursed spirit cut by this sword will die instantly. Of course, Moxaluo's power is not due to the sword it comes with, but its true power lies in its ability to coordinate and adapt to all the spells in the world. When it is attacked by some kind of attack, it will adapt. A normal spell attack only needs one time to adapt. If it is a powerful attack, such as an attack released by an opponent of Gojo Satoru's level, it may need blend 2 to 3 times. There is only one way to defeat Moxaluo, which is to kill it instantly before it loses any adaptability. Moxaluo can continuously adapt through fighting, and will evolve adaptively according to the type of damage received, and even optimize its own combat effectiveness. The first time Fushiguro K woke up, she rushed out of the house. She ran into Gojo Satoru head-on. Fushiguro Megumi tried to go around Gojo Satoru, but was knocked to the ground by one of Gojo Satoru's legs. If you still want revenge, just accept my arrangement. It is impossible for you to defeat him now. Gojo Satoru said lightly. What do I need to do to kill Rosen? Gojo Satoru had a headache. After thinking for a while, he said, first of all, you must understand the gap between you and him. How far behind am I now? Fushiguro Megumi asked again. You must defeat me first, and then consider seeking revenge from him. That is to say, as long as I can defeat you, I am qualified to take revenge on him. Is that right? So to speak. Fushiguro Megumi immediately jumped away a few meters away and formed seals with his hands. Gojo Satori pointed his finger at Fushiguro Megumi, Jutsu, Ang. A small black ball, as tiny as a grain of rice, formed on Gojo Satoru's finger. Bang! Before Fushiguro Megumi could summon the Shikigami, he was directly knocked away by Gojo Satoru's attack. Fushiguro Megumi held her stomach, her face full of pain. You were really weak. Gojo Satoru felt that he had returned to Rosen's superior attitude when he first became Rosen's student. Fushiguro tried and tried hard, but the result was the same. Not to mention Rosen, for Megumi Fushiguro, Gojo Satoru is an insurmountable mountain. Fushiguro Megumi's diary. On the first day of school, I developed feelings for the earth and had close contact with it. On the second day of school, I had close contact with the earth again. 1 month after enrollment. Megumi, being beaten like this every day will not improve your strength. There is a huge amount of gap between you and me. Gojo Satoru said. I think I have improved. Fushiguro Megumi said firmly. That's not improvement. Gojo Satoru said speechlessly. Actual combat is not achieved by being beaten into coma again and again, but a duel that requires close combat power. I don't think there is any substantial difference between you and me. Gojo Satoru looked at the stubborn Megumi Fushiguro. Let's do this. I will make an appointment with him to let you understand the gap between you and me, and the gap between you and him. Fushiguro Megumi's eyes lit up. This was a good idea, at least it would allow him to understand the opponent's moves. It's hard to say that when Rosen and Gojo Satoru both suffered losses, he still had a chance to benefit. Gojo Satoru took out his cell phone and dialed Rosen's number. Make an appointment at a time and a place, and let's have a fight. After a while, Gojo Satoru put down his phone. I made an appointment with him tonight, right in the forest in front of us. Tonight. Fushiguro Megumi curled her lips. It's not convenient to watch the game at night. I will teach you a spell that will allow you to see in the dark without being affected. If you cannot master this spell in 1 day, it can only be said that your talent is limited to this. After nightfall, Gojo Satoru and Fushiguro Megumi appeared in the forest behind the Magic College. There are more than 1,000 square kilometers of dense mountain forests here. Insects chirp one after another in the mountains and forests, and wild beasts are faintly dormant in the darkness. Gojo Satoru took Fushiguro Megumi to the top of a mountain. You stay here, don't move around at will, otherwise, even I can't guarantee your safety. Fushiguro Megumi disagreed. This place was so big that even if he fought on the top of the mountain, it would not affect him. The magicians and magic spirits that Fushiguro Megumi has come into contact with so far are relatively common. Except for Gojo Satoru and Rosen, he has never come into contact with a magician above the first level. So he didn't have any idea about the special magician. Suddenly, a golden beam of light shot from the top of the mountain opposite. Fushiguro Megumi's eyes widened, and before he had time to react, the golden beam of light had already arrived in front of him. At this moment, Gojo Satoru stood in front of Fushiguro Megumi. The dazzling light made Fushiguro Megumi almost unable to open his eyes. Fushiguro Megumi felt the ground shaking, and the dazzling golden light made him unable to open his eyes. When the golden light gradually subsided, he found that the top of the mountain under his feet had disappeared, leaving only a concave top. Gojo Satoru carried Fushiguro Megumi and landed on the top of the mountain that was dented by the bombardment. Technique. A huge amount of black ball condensed at Gojo Satoru's fingertips. Fushiguro Megumi felt the danger of the black ball, as if one more look at it would kill him without any trace of his body. Bow. The black ball shoots towards the opposite hill. Boom. The entire mountain opposite has disappeared. Fushiguro Hui's eyes widened and she looked at this scene in astonishment. Is this how Rosen and Gojo Satoru fight? At this moment, Fushiguro Megumi somewhat understood the gap mentioned by Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru suddenly rushed into the air, and at the same time, Rosen on the opposite side turned into a stream of light and rose into the sky. Fushiguro Megumi looked up at the sky. High in the sky, Rosen and Gojo Satoru were fighting each other with crazy attacks. Every attack by the two people will make an explosion in the air, and the trees and vegetation on the ground will also tremble with each explosion. The two hit from high altitude to the ground, and then pushed all the way across the ground. The entire mountain stream, several kilometers away, was almost destroyed by the aftermath of the battle between the two. Fushiguro Megumi finally understood the reason why Gojo Satoru had been preventing him from seeking revenge on Rosen. With my ability, I always deliver food no matter how many times I go there. At this moment, a silver-white giant rose from the ground. The silver giant was 200 meters high. Even though Fushiguro Megumi was several kilometers away, he could feel the pressure of the silver giant coming towards his face. At this time, another black giant rose from the ground. The black giant was also about 200 meters tall, but his whole body was filled with an evil aura. At least in Fushiguro Megumi's view, the black giant is synonymous with evil. It is not an exaggeration to say that the battle between the two sides was devastating. Several surrounding peaks were turned into powder during their battle. This battle has refreshed his understanding of magicians. He even felt that it was not an exaggeration to say that this was a war between gods. However, this battle is still over. Gojo Satoru was indeed interested in testing Rosen's strength. In the past few years, his strength has become much stronger than before. He felt that even if he couldn't defeat Rosen, he could at least test out where Rosen's upper limit was. But what disappointed him was that even in such an intense battle, Rosen could still handle it easily. Of course, neither party used the field to expand. Because Gojo Satoru knew that Rosen's domain expansion was stronger than his. Once the field expands and he fails to neutralize Rosen's field, he will undoubtedly lose and even suffer heavy losses. So by this time, it's almost enough. Gojo Satoru returns to Fushiguro Megumi. How's it going? Now you understand the difference between you and him. Is this your power? Yes, but not entirely. Gojo Satoru said. He is stronger than what you see. If you want to seek revenge from him, you need to at least defeat me. Can I really do this? At this moment, Fushiguro Megumi really began to doubt whether she could really seek revenge from Rosen. More powerful than Gojo Satoru. This is just the basis for revenge. Is this really possible? Try it, I will work hard to make you stronger. Gojo Satoru said. Then it's up to you, teacher. Megumi Fushiguro's heart was very complicated. While she was scared, she was even more determined to defeat Rosen. On the one hand, he is doubting himself whether he can succeed in revenge, and on the other hand, he is giving himself a firmer determination. The next day, Fushiguro Megumi came to the training ground early. This is the first time Fushiguro Megumi has taken a serious class in this period of time. Gojo Satoru arrived belatedly, glanced at Fushiguro Megumi with a determined look, and said, "Your Jukage technique, the first 9 Shikigami are almost useless, and only the 10th Shikigami Demon Zura it is useful, so my request is that you must tame the successful Demon Shuluo within 1 semester." This is impossible. No one from the Chanyuan family has subdued the successful Demon Shuluo for hundreds of years. What level of Shikigami is Moxura? The last member of the Zenyuan family who successfully subdued the Demon Shuluo died together with the last member of the Gojo family, Soden Rokugan. In other words, Moxuluo is on the same level as Kangtian Luyan, and can also be called the strongest in the contemporary era. But now Gojo Satoru wants him to tame Moxuluo for 1 semester, which is almost impossible. Nothing is impossible, Gojo Satoru said, and just 1 Moxuluo is not enough. That guy knows the weakness of Moxuluo. Moxuluo is the most powerful Shikigami of the Chanyuan family and has almost no weaknesses. No, Moxuluo has weaknesses. For example, as long as he is strong enough, will he be killed instantly before Moxuluo can adapt to the coordinated attack? Don't doubt it, that guy can do it. Gojo Satoru didn't say a word. He might have this strength himself, let alone Rosen. If even Mozuluo can't defeat him, then how can I surpass him? How can I take revenge? It's very simple, make Moxuluo stronger. Gojo Satoru said. Can a Shikigami become stronger? Have no idea. In fact, this training plan was not thought up by him, but by Rosen. Although Gojo Satoru was very dissatisfied with Rosen's interference in his teaching. But he really had no idea how to improve the strength of the Shikigami. Without improving the strength of the Shikigami, Fushiguro Megumi will always be a poor little loser. At the same time, Rosen is also training Fushiguro Sumiki. The Fushiguro family is also a powerful family of magicians, and they also have their own lineage and inheritance. The Fushiguro family's art is called Ao no Jutsu. The art of Kang is also a very interesting technique. If you use the art of Kang during the day, any attack can be accompanied by white fire. If used at night, all attacks will be attached with black lightning, also known as dark lightning. White fire can burn the magic power, and dark thunder can absorb the magic power. The powerful Fushiguro family magician can switch between white fire and dark thunder attacks at will, regardless of day or night. And what surprised Rosen was that Fushiguro Sumiki was the first person he met who could practice the 24 chi training techniques. And Fushiguro Sumiki can cultivate two solar terms, namely the energy of the beginning of summer and the energy of the beginning of winter. For this purpose, Rosen also provided a lot of Greer stones for Fushiguro Sumiki to cultivate her own chi. Both the chi of beginning of summer and the chi of beginning of winter can enhance the power of white fire and dark thunder. Fushiguro Sumiki is very similar to the yin and yang cultivation method in martial arts novels. Of course, Rosen also intended to let Fushiguro Sumiki practice in this area. Perhaps this little girl's talent is not as good as Fushiguro Megumi's. Rosen is looking forward to seeing what kind of amazing spellcasters he can train in the future. Fushiguro Sumiki also practices seriously. No matter what kind of training volume Rosen gave her, she could complete it well without any complaints. Comparatively speaking, she is much more well-behaved than Nanami Kento. Nanami Kento was obeying Rosen's orders while constantly complaining. Sumiki, teacher, do you have any instructions? I need you to go to Sugazawa No. 3 Middle School in Sendai Miyagi Prefecture. Do you need me to go there to ward off some evil spirit? No, you will meet a hedgehog there and beat him up. Fushiguro Sumiki was a little confused, but after hearing about the hedgehog head, the first thing she thought of was her arrogant brother. Could it be Megumi? It should be so. With the teacher's bad character, he probably wants to beat Megumi himself. Yes, teacher. Oh, by the way, you need to put on some makeup. Makeup, teacher, do you want me not to be recognized? No, I need you to make up so that you are no longer a living person and your body is under control. Shan's No. 3 Middle School. In a closed room, two members of the Supernatural Society were holding a strip wrapped in a strip of cloth with many obscure inscriptions engraved on it. It's really difficult to remove. The girl was using her fingers to remove the strips of cloth on the strip. Do you want my help? The boy asked. No need, I'll take it apart right away. Hey, it's ready. The girl immediately said excitedly. While speeding up the movement of her hands, the cloth strips wrapped around the strips began to be untied. The boy looked at the strips expectantly, and finally all the cloth strips were dismantled. The two finally saw the object clearly, a dry and red finger. Hey, a human finger. It won't involve any homicide, right? Bang. At this moment, the whole room shook heavily, and then the lights in the room suddenly turned off, plunging the supernatural club into darkness. Ah, what happened? Both the girl and the boy were a little scared. Neither of the two young men noticed that there were many twisted faces and eyes above their heads. The girl took out her mobile phone to light it up, and the next moment a creepy, inhuman face appeared on the side of the two of them. Ah, the two of them were scared to death, and then began an epic escape. But what they uncovered was the seal of a special curse, and the terrifying power it exuded attracted countless cursed spirits. They longed for the power of a special curse. Soon, the two of them were caught by a cursed spirit. Just when they were about to be swallowed, a figure rushed over from the aisle. It was none other than Megumi Fushiguro. Fushiguro Megumi was accompanied by the Shikigami Tamaki. The last time the white jade of the black and white double jade was killed by Rosen, all the spells and spells of Baiyu were inherited by black jade, and then black jade evolved into Jade Dog Way. Fushiguro Megumi saw two ordinary students in the mouth of the cursed spirit and was about to attack immediately. But at this time, several cursed spirits appeared in front of him and blocked his way. These were all low-level cursed spirits, not very powerful. Even though there were so many of them, it was too late for him to save people. Suddenly, a figure appeared outside the window, a young man with pink hair and a decent spirit. The person who came was none other than Hisado Hisahi, one of the three giants of the Supernatural Society. Hishido the Japanese knotweed directly broke through the glass window of the corridor and kicked the cursed spirit in the face who was trying to devour the president and vice president of the Supernatural Society. In midair, Higurashi Hiroki hugged the girl who was thrown away again, and rolled on the ground several times before stopping. Fushiguro Megumi immediately controlled the jade dog to turn into a black light and rush over. All the cursed spirits on the path were instantly killed, successfully saving one of the 3 giants of the Supernatural Society. Knotweed Hisahito breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that his 2 friends had been rescued. Haha, lucky you. Didn't I ask you to wait for me outside? They are my friends after all. If they don't do anything, it won't be good. Hishido Kizumi scratched the back of his head and laughed. Aren't you afraid? I'm still afraid, but I'm the only one outside, and I feel even scarier. Hisuhito saw the fingers on the ground. Is this the special curse you were looking for? That's right, this is the curse of the King of Curses. Just as the 2 were relaxing, the wall of the class on the other side of the corridor exploded, and a huge amount of cursed spirit rushed out and grabbed Fushiguro Megumi. Megumi Fushiguro was caught by this huge amount of big mouth cursed spirit, and the huge amount of power almost crushed his bones. And this cursed spirit seems to have the ability to disrupt the power of the curse, making it impossible for Fushiguro Megumi's spells and spells to be used. Jade Dog also passively cancelled the summons because Fushiguro Megumi's technique was disrupted. The cursed spirit grabbed Fushiguro Megumi and smashed the outer wall. Fushiguro Megumi tried to summon the Shikigami several times, but was unable to cast the spell because the power of the curse was disturbed. Seeing this, Hisado Hisakahito rushed forward and kicked the arm of the giant cursed spirit. Fushiguro Megumi was thrown away, but Hisado Hisakahiro himself was caught by the cursed spirit and tried to stuff it into his mouth. The legs of Knotweed Hisahito were firmly against the cursed spirit's mouth, but how could a human's strength compare to that of the cursed spirit? At this moment, Knotweed Hisahito thought of the finger of the cursed king and immediately swallowed it into his stomach. Immediately afterwards, an extremely strong aura swayed from the body of the Japanese knotweed urine. At this moment, the Japanese knotweed Hisahito seemed to be a different person. He casually lifted it up, and the big mouth cursed spirit that was about to swallow the Japanese knotweed Hisahito exploded instantly. Oops, the worst has happened. Haha, the moonlight is indeed the most pleasant to experience in person. The flesh and blood of the cursed spirit is really disgusting. What about humans? What about women? Is this a new era? I can experience the joy of killing women and children again. Quote. At this moment, Higurashi Hisato was laughing wildly, exuding a crazy aura. At the same time, another pair of eyes appeared under his eyes, and strange lines appeared on his face. He is Liangmian Sanuo, the most powerful magician from thousands of years ago. He was truly the strongest. During the heyday of magic, he defeated all the strongest magicians of that era. Only in that era could a strong man like him be born. Have no scruples, and are not bound by any laws or morals. Suddenly, Sunuo's palm pinched his chin without his control, and another calm and confused voice came out from his mouth. Hey, who are you? What are you going to do with my body if you make your own decisions? Sunuo was stunned for a moment. Who are you? Why, can you suppress my consciousness? This is my body, isn't it natural? Gradually, the lines on Sunuo's face disappeared, and his eyes gradually closed. Knotweed Hisahito takes back control of his body. But at this moment, Fushiguro Megumi stood up. Haruto Hajiri, according to the regulations of the Spellcasters Association, you came into contact and released a special curse. Now I will kill you in the name of the Spellcasters Association. Hisuhito Kazun looked at Megumi Fushiguro with a puzzled look on his face. Aren't we friends? What's going on now? Suddenly, Gojo Satoru's voice came. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Gojo Satoru. Teacher, why did you come now? Sorry, I found on the street that the snacks here are very delicious, and I accidentally wasted a little time. Gojo Satoru waved his hand. Oh, I'm really embarrassed, my whole body is covered with injuries. Take a picture of your current embarrassment and show the seniors how you look now. Gojo Satoru took a cell phone and took random pictures of Fushiguro Megumi. Stop, now is not the time to talk about this. Fushiguro Megumi said with a dark look on his face. I didn't want to come at first, but after all, it's a special curse, so I decided to come over and have a look. Now, where is the special curse? Ah, that. Hisuhito Knotweed raised his right hand. I'm sorry, I ate that thing. Real or fake? Really? Hisuhito Kizune and Megumi Fushiguro replied in unison. Gojo Satoru showed a surprised look and came to the front of the Japanese knotweed Hishito. He held the Japanese knotweed and looked up and down, back and forth, left and right. Hey, it's true. It's really interesting to be in this body. What's wrong with the body? No, can I exchange it with Sunuo? Sunuo. It's the special curse you took. Oh, well, it should be fine. Gojo Satoru took a few steps back and then started to warm up. Well, let's do it for 10 seconds. You will change back after 10 seconds. But, cute big breasts. I'm the strongest. Gojo Satoru threw a bag of snacks to Fushiguro Megumi. This is a Sendai specialty. Keep it safe for me. You can eat it on the train. So, you were late just to buy this snack when my life was at stake. Aren't you dead? Suddenly, Fushiguro Megumi saw Kushiro Hisahito jumping up, and at the same time, the aura on his body became crazy and evil again, and he hurriedly shouted, "Be careful." Boom boom. The place where Gojo Satoru originally stood was filled with smoke. At the same time, the place where Fushiguro Megumi stood was also filled with smoke. But he saw Sunuo was landing on one knee, his punch missed and hit the ground, while Gojo Satoru was sitting on Sunuo's back. Megumi Fushiguro on the other side was blasted away, but it was a figure that shocked him. Fushiguro Sumiki. Sumiki. Fushiguro Megumi looked at the longing figure in astonishment. But at this moment, Fushiguro Sumiki's eyes had no pupils and were completely white. There were corpse spots on her face, and her whole body exuded the aura of death. Sunuo also discovered Fushiguro Sumiki, who had a strange smell. Is it a corpse? It looks like a living person. It's really strange. Sunuo suddenly swung a slash at Fushiguro Sumiki. Technique. Cut. Fushiguro Sumiki's body moved slightly, and the slash passed in front of her, cutting off a few strands of hair. Stop. Fushiguro Megumi rushed forward, but Fushiguro Sumiki turned into a dark thunder at this moment, and punched Fushiguro Megumi in the abdomen. Sunuo wanted to attack again, but Gojo Satoru put his arm around his shoulder. Your opponent is me. Get away. Sunuo struck out with a casual blow. Wu Jiaowu did not dodge, but Sunuo's attack fell on him and was completely ignored. On the other side, Fushiguro Megumi was already stunned by Fushiguro Sumiki. The dark thunder eroded his body and seized his spell power. Why? Fushiguro Sumiki continued to attack him expressionlessly. Megumi, your sister is dead, and what is in front of you now is a controlled corpse. Gojo Satoru reminded Fushiguro Megumi while dealing with Sunuo easily. Hehe. In that case, let me help you kill her. Sunuo struck another slash at Fushiguro Sumiki from afar. Fushiguro Sumiki suddenly changed the target of her attack, and the moment she avoided the slashing attack, her feet were covered with a white flame, which swept across the sky. Sunuo shouted softly, "Excuse me." In an instant, several slashes struck Fushiguro Sumiki. Fushiguro Sumiki quickly retracted her moves and avoided most of the slashes at incredible angles. But there was another slash that landed on her chest. The slash split open her chest, but not a drop of blood came out. After seeing this scene, Fushiguro Megumi finally believed that his sister was dead. However, Sunuo and Gojo Satoru showed strange expressions because Fushiguro Sumiki's movements were too abnormal. Retracting a move in midair is easy in theory, but not so easy in practice. Gojo Satoru and Sunuo are both masters of physical skills, but even they dare not say that they will be able to do it. And the white flame attached to her attack made them all feel danger. However, 10 seconds passed quickly, and Sunuo was suppressed by the consciousness of Haji Yorin again. Fushiguro Sumiki rushed towards Fushiguro Megumi again. Megumi Fushiguro was no match for Miki Fushiguro, and he was completely unable to attack this familiar face. This resulted in him being beaten passively. Hey, aren't you going to help him? Hisahito Kizune asked Gojo Satoru next to him. Your student is about to be beaten to death by that woman. Cute big breasts, being spanked can make people grow up quickly. He kept beating Fushiguro Megumi until his consciousness became blurred and he fell to the ground unconscious. Fushiguro Sumiki then stopped attacking and looked back at Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru grinned and waved his hand. Whoosh! Fushiguro Sumiki disappeared into the night. Late at night, Fushiguro Sumiki returned to Rosen's house. Jealousy blocked Fushiguro Sumiki's path. Let's talk tomorrow if we have anything to do. The master is asleep. Fushiguro Sumiki had no choice but to go back and rest. I don't know how Hui's injury is, but I have tried to control my strength as much as possible. I don't know if he can dispel the chi, but chi is not easy to dispel, and if you are not careful, you will leave the root of the disease. No, I have to tell Senior Satoru and ask him to help dissipate the energy from Megumi. Fushiguro Sumiki came to Gojo Satoru's residence. The pink hair from before was now tied to a chair, and Gojo Satoru was sitting opposite. Hey, why are you tying me up here? Of course you will be executed. Huh, why is that? Because you swallowed the special curse, the finger of Shunuo. What the hell is that two-faced Sunuo? Thousands of years ago, in the era when magic was most prosperous, the most powerful cursed king was born. He left behind 20 fingers after his death. All of these 20 fingers contained 1/20th of the two-faced Sunuo. Each one is a special curse, and the one you swallowed is one of them. Some old guys are worried that Sunuo will be resurrected in your body, so they want to eliminate it. Quote, 20 fingers. Liang Mian Sunuo has 4 hands, so there are 20 fingers. Since it is such a dangerous thing, why not just destroy it? It cannot be destroyed. Gojo Satoru took out a finger. The Spellmasters Association controls 6 fingers, and this is one of them. Saying that, Gojo Satoru used the power of the curse in his palm and suddenly shot his finger out. The finger hit the wall and the wall collapsed, but the finger was embedded in the wall unscathed. When it was shot in, it looked like it was digging. How was it when it came out? So I have to die. Not really, I applied for a reprieve of death for you. Then you still have to die. It's still different. At least you can live a little longer, and maybe there will be a turnaround. Gojo Satoru tossed Sunuo's finger and said, the power of the curse on it is constantly increasing. Even if there is no body, sooner or later they will be fully revived, so I propose to the superiors that you be the body of Sunuo's finger. Let you swallow all of Sunuo's fingers, and then kill you, and Sunuo will disappear with your death. So you have 2 choices now, die now, or find all Sunuo's fingers and absorb them before dying. Excuse me. At this moment, Fushiguro Sumiki walked in. Hey, why is she here? Is she trying to kill me now? Wearing an eye patch, stop her quickly. Hisuhito the Japanese knotweed shouted. Oh, senior sister, why are you here? Wei is seriously injured. I'm worried that normal treatment methods won't be able to cure him, so I hope seniors can use magic to dispel the energy in his body. Chi, what is that? It is a kind of power that is different from the power of curses that the teacher taught me. Fushiguro Sumiki opened her palms, and a ball of beginning of summer energy condensed in her palm. This ball of beginning of summer energy was filled with the aura of the solstice. It's really amazing. The teacher is really stingy. He didn't teach me this kind of thing. Gojo Satoru came to the hospital ward, and Fushiguro Megumi was wrapped like rice dumplings at the moment, still unconscious. Arriving at the bedside, Gojo Satoru stretched out his hand and held onto Kuro's wrist. Gojo Satoru felt that an energy was entrenched in Fushiguro Megumi's body. This energy is the same as Fushiguro Sumiki's previous display of energy. Is this anger? Gojo Satoru tried to guide the energy out, but the energy was firmly locked in Fushiguro Megumi's body. Unable to guide him, Gojo Satoru could only use another method to forcibly expel the energy with spell power. This method is feasible, but it consumes quite a lot of magic power. A burst of air was expelled from the body, and when he saw that it was about to dissipate in the air, Gojo Satoru immediately reached out and fished it into the palm of his hand. This energy was not repulsive to him, and after Gojo Satoru tried to inhale it into his body, he found that his physical condition had improved slightly. Gojo Satoru's eyes lit up. This energy was indeed a good thing. With such a small amount, he could significantly improve himself. It's a pity that it's a little less. Even if all the energy in Fushiguro Megumi's body is absorbed, it's still a very small amount. Gojo Satoru feels that if there are enough, he may even have a chance to reach a higher level. Moreover, the absorption efficiency is too low. The teacher must have a complete cultivation method. Sure enough, the teacher still has a lot of good stuff. Help Fushiguro Megumi tidy up her body. The next day, Gojo Satoru took Japanese knotweed Hishido and ran to find Rosen. As soon as they reached the mountainside, they saw Fushiguro Sumiki sitting in the corner, practicing facing the rising sun. Gojo Satoru clearly felt the energy on Fushiguro Sumiki's body. Hishido Kuzada pulled Gojo Satoru's sleeve and asked in a low voice, "So, she is with us?" Gojo Satoru rolled his eyes and went directly into Rosen's home without saying hello to Fushiguro Sumiki, who was meditating. Gojo Satoru was already familiar with Rosen's house, so he went to get a bottle of drink and threw it to Hishido Knotweed, and then pushed open Rosen's bedroom, where Rosen was fast asleep. Gojo Satoru's fingers gathered together and struck Rosen's body. The entire bedroom disappeared, and Hirohito even doubted whether Gojo Satoru and Rosen had any personal enmity. Rosen stood up unscathed again, holding the messy chicken coop on his head, and looked at Gojo Satoru feebly. "Why do you come to me this early in the morning if you don't sleep?" "I want to learn Chi. A long time ago, I checked every student. None of you are qualified to learn Chi. Sumiki is the only one who has this qualification." "What is this qualification?" "Just like some people are born with magic power, and some people are born without magic power, there are very few people who can cultivate Chi. Sumiki is the only person I have met in so many years who has the qualifications to cultivate Chi." When Gojo Satoru heard this, he was immediately disappointed. At this moment, Rosen's eyes suddenly looked at Hisuhito Knotweed. The next moment, Rosen felt that the surrounding environment was changing. All around were mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and a throne made of piled bones appeared in front of him, with a lazy figure sitting on the throne. He was born in the realm and stayed in Nuo on both sides. Nuo held his cheek with one hand, tilted his head and looked at Rosen casually. "It seems that all the magicians of this era are not useless." Tisk. Rosen couldn't help but let out a snort. The next moment, half of Nuo's realm of life began to turn into a sea of fire, with a blood-red sun on the sea of fire. "How dare you, a remnant of the old era and a homeless dog, bark in front of me?" Nuo immediately looked at Rosen with a twisted face and anger. "Do you want to die?" Rosen pointed his finger forward, and Nuo's entire realm of life was shattered, including Nuo himself. What a boring game. At this moment, Nuo only had 1/20th of his strength, and he was living in the body of Higurashi Hisari. He didn't even have any autonomy. Although his realm of birth looked scary, it was actually just a mediocre thing. Gojo Satoru looked at Rosen. "Have you seen it? What a arrogant guy, but he does have the capital to be arrogant." Rosen also had to admit that even with only 1/20th of the power, Nuo was already at the mid-level of the special level. Rosen glanced at Gojo Satoru. "It looks like you need additional training." "Teacher, I will not lose to Nuo." "Then I don't care. Anyway, you have to spend 2 hours at the end of each day." Gojo Satoru had a headache. He had already graduated. Do he still have to accept Rosen's torture? Although Gojo Satoru was not very willing, in the evening of the same day, Gojo Satoru still came to see Rosen honestly. "Teacher, my strength has entered a bottleneck period, and I can't find any possibility to improve my strength." Rosen raised his head and looked at Gojo Satoru. "Satoru, 6 eyes is the limit of your Gojo family, but is it your limit?" "What?" A Magatama appeared in Rosen's eyes. The original name of these eyes is Sharingan. They are 1 Magatama, 2 Magatama and 3 Magatama. They have excellent dynamic vision and illusion blessing. Rosen said. The 3 Magatama in the pupils began to rotate and change, changing even more complicated. The eyes later evolved into this form, called the kaleidoscope, and then evolved into the eternal kaleidoscope. Rosen's pupils were constantly changing. On top of the eternal kaleidoscope is the samsara eye, and this is not the ultimate form of the samsara eye. How do you think your 6 eyes compare to my samsara eye? Gojo Satoru thought for a while and replied frankly, "It's not as good as it is." "Then do you think it's because your bloodline is worse than mine, or because the grade of your eyes is worse than the grade of my eyes?" "Teacher, are you saying that it is possible for my 6 eyes to evolve? That guy Nanami can create his own bloodline from scratch. Are you worse than Nanami?" Rosen is very good at injecting chicken blood into students, but the chicken blood injected by Rosen has basically come true. Teacher, I don't have any clue. The 4 shadow demons merged into Rosen's body at the same time. 3 pairs of reincarnation eyes and a pair of pure eyes bloomed in Rosen's pupils at the same time. At this moment, Gojo Satoru felt the overwhelming pressure approaching. This was the first time Gojo Satoru truly felt the pressure brought by Rosen's eyes. At this moment, he really felt that compared to Rosen's eyes, his eyes were like a younger brother. It was also at this moment that he could truly understand how big the gap was between his own eyes and Rosen's. Rosen raised his hand and took off Gojo Satoru's eye patch. Do you mind if I take off your eyes? Ah, does it have to be like this? You can't find the clue yourself, so I can only do it myself. If that's the case, then ask the teacher to do it. Hiss. Gojo Satoru took 2 steps back, and the next moment he couldn't see anything. There was severe pain in his eyes, which gave him an unprecedented sense of fear. Be quiet and sit next to me while I study your eyes. Rosen held the 6 eyes in his palms. I can see that your eyes still have great potential, not even worse than the Sharingan. Rosen injected chakra into his 6 eyes, and the 6 eyes quickly absorbed Rosen's chakra. No matter how much Rosen injected, Luyan would accept it as ordered. What Rosen lacked the most was chakra. The power of the 10 tails is endless. Finally, the 6 eyes reached the upper limit. No wonder it takes hundreds of years for the Gojo family to have only one 6 eyes member, and they think 6 eyes are the ultimate. The awakening of the 6 eyes requires the power of blood accumulated over the ages. The Gojo family can control the appearance of 6 eyes in a certain generation. This is not a stable bloodline inheritance method. Once there is a problem in a certain generation, it can easily lead to the severance of the bloodline. If the 6 eyes want to go further, they will need an unimaginable amount of magic power. It requires at least 30 times the mantra power of Gojo Satoru. You must know that in today's world of magic, there are only 2 people who clearly surpass Gojo Satoru in terms of magic power. One is the 1,000-year-old monster Tianyuan, and the other is Otoko Yuta. Gojo Satoru's 30 times the mantra power, even if it lasted his whole life, Gojo Satoru could not achieve it. So 6 eyes are still 6 eyes, and 6 eyes will always be 6 eyes. When Rosen injected enough chakra, the valve of the 6 eyes was finally opened. Then Rosen injected natural energy, and the 6 eyes were quite friendly to natural energy. Rosen is planning the future of the 6 eyes, and is also carving out the next technique in the 6 eyes. Come over. Gojo Satoru came to Rosen, and Rosen put the 6 eyes back into Gojo Satoru's eyes. Don't use the spell yet, I need to unblock your blood vessels. Rosen's palm condensed green energy, and the green energy flowed into Gojo Satoru's eyes. Finally, Gojo Satoru saw the light again. The world Gojo Satoru saw this time was completely different from the past. Use the magic power to flow into your eyes, Rosen said. The more familiar Gojo Satoru became, the more shocked he was. Are these eyes really my 6 eyes? Could it be that it was dropped? Compared with the original 6 eyes and the current pair of eyes, they are nothing to mention. Is this what it feels like after the 6 eyes evolve? When you go back, get familiar with your eyes. I left a spell in them. Gojo Satoru really needs time to get familiar with these eyes. He could feel that these eyes would bring him a qualitative leap. In a cafe, Shayuji, Ken Suo, and 3 cursed spirits were sitting around a table. These 3 cursed spirits are Tuo Zhen, Hua Yu, and Luo Hu. If you want to reverse the status of humans and magic spirits, you must meet 2 conditions. First, make Rosen, the special magician with a high degree in magic, unable to participate in the battle. Second, draw Liang Mi and Sanuo into the group and stand on our side, camp. What's going on with Rosen? Why haven't I heard of that guy? Liu Hu asked. I have to ask Jia now. Kensuo looked at Sha Yuji who was sitting opposite. He is my teacher and the most powerful person in the world of magic today. Each of us is a special level person. If we go together, can't we still kill him? Liu Hu asked again. It's impossible, there's a small chance that he will escape. Kensuo said. So that's just a small probability. Liu Hu said disapprovingly. He was still very confident in his own strength. There is a high probability that all of us will be defeated by him. Sha Yuji said. So rather than killing him, it's better to seal him. Seal, isn't that harder than killing him? Normally, this is true, but if there is a special grade cursed prison gate, it would be a different matter. Oh, prison gate, is that thing in your hand? Even as a cursed spirit, he is particularly interested in special grade curses. Luohu was so excited that the small volcano above his head kept spewing thick smoke, and he couldn't hide the greed on his face. Ahem, don't make too much noise. Kensuo waved his hand. Just kill everyone here, Liuhu said crazily. Kensuo, what do you think of my strength? It's probably equivalent to the 8 or 9 fingers of Sunuo on both sides. Hehe, that's enough. I'll help you kill Rosen, and you give me the prison gate. I want to add it to my collection. Are you sure? This is not a good job. Kensuo had no intention of stopping him. Of course, I am just a human being, but I am a special grade curse spirit. The small volcano above the head of Lehu erupted directly, and the dozens of clerks and customers in the cafe were all on fire at this moment, and the entire cafe was like a purgatory, generally. You're going to die. The more Gojo Satoru became familiar with his new eyes, the more shocked he felt. It even gave him the urge to feel that he was invincible. The eyes in the past were called the 6 eyes of the sky, so now these eyes should at least be the eyes of the sky, right? Gojo Satoru's eyes were focused. No seal was needed, and he saw a 2-meter-high crack in front of him. Gojo Satoru stepped into the crack, appeared thousands of meters away in an instant, and returned to the same place in an instant. This is just the most common use of the Eye of the Sky, teleportation. In the following time, Gojo Satoru developed the Sky Technique and the Void Technique. Gojo Satoru feels that the current self and the self in the 6-eye period are completely different concepts and levels. Perhaps this is the strength beyond the special level. After he completely masters the Eye of the Sky, he will definitely compete with Rosen again. When Gojo Satoru arrived at the school, he heard that Fushiguro Megumi and Kazune Hisahito had gone on a mission while they were in seclusion for a few days. Gojo Satoru didn't take it to heart, after all, they were both first-level students. But one day later, when he saw Hisuhito not read again, he had turned into a cold corpse and his heart had been ripped out. Gojo Satoru looked at the body of his student and felt a little sad, but more importantly he was still very unhappy. In this commissioned mission, the object to be eliminated is a special level curse spirit, and there are also 5 ordinary people to save. Let the first-grade students fight against the special curse spirit. Even when Rosen was teaching, he never did such excessive things. This made it clear that those old guys from the Spellcasters Association wanted to kill Hisato Hisashi. At this moment, Gojo Satoru really wanted to flip the table. In the morgue, the family member Glass walked in. Satoru, is this your student? Why are you here? I heard that Liang Miansu Nuo's sufferer died. Can I dissect him now? Gojo Satoru had a dark look on his face. My student died, and you didn't comfort me and actually wanted to dissect him. Wouldn't your conscience hurt? It was your student who died, not mine, so why should I feel guilty? Besides, I didn't protect my students well, so why do you have the nerve to accuse me? Shouldn't you reflect on yourself? Ieri Glass said confidently. Gojo Satoru was furious and didn't know how to refute. At the same time, inside the body of Hirohito Polygonum Cuspidatum. Polygonum Cuspidatum Yorin appeared in front of a hill of bones. There was a skeleton throne on the mountain of bones. Su Nuo was sitting on the throne, overlooking Polygonum Cuspidatum Yorin from a high place. Am I dead? Why do I still meet a guy like you after I die? This is my realm of life, and you are not dead yet. What is the realm of birth? You can understand it as the spiritual world condensed by my power. Su Nuo said calmly. You took out my heart, and now you're telling me that I'm not dead yet. Although you are not dead yet, you are not far away from death. Su Nuo said, if you can agree to my 2 conditions, I can cure your injuries. Ha, are you begging me? Hisato Hirohito became arrogant at this moment. If you are stubborn, then go die. Even if you die, I must drag you down from that high throne first. Yorin, a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers, suddenly rushes towards Su Nuo. But in Su Nuo's eyes, his actions were as childish and ridiculous as a child's. Sunuo knocked over Yorin the Polygonum cuspidatum with a casual kick, and then sat on Yorin the Polygonum cuspidatum's body. Do you really want to die? Sunuo still had the same aloof attitude. In the end, it's you who is afraid of death. Things have changed. In the near future, interesting things will happen. How about agreeing to my 2 conditions, and you can return to the human world? Sunuo said seductively. First, as long as I sing Chikuo, you have to give your body to me for 1 minute, and secondly, you have to forget our agreement. I will not make a deal with you. Who knows what your intentions are? I already understand that you are not a good person, so I will never give my body to you. Then I promise you, during this minute, I will not kill anyone or hurt others. I won't believe you. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. This is the power that binds the contract. It binds you and me. Once I violate the agreement, I will also be punished. Okay, I agreed, get up. When Sunuo heard this, his mood suddenly improved and he stood up immediately. But the next moment, Higurashi Yorin punched Sunuo in the face. The devil has to agree to your request. The knotweed Yorin finally hit Sunuo, although the punch was neither painful nor itchy. There is really no other way. Let's do this. Here I give you countless opportunities to be resurrected. As long as you can defeat me, then I will resurrect you unconditionally. And if I win, then you will be resurrected with a binding contract. Yorin of Polygonum cuspidatum cocked his fingers proudly. Here you go. The next moment, Knotweed Hisahito's head was cut in half. Hisuhito Knotweed was lying on the cold operating table at the moment. Isaiah had already stripped him naked and was preparing to dissect Hisuhito Knotweed. Gojo Satoru was sitting on the side, feeling depressed. The words that I entered the glass really made him start to reflect on himself. Even though he knew that Hirohito Knotweed would be targeted by the higher-ups, he always thought that his name could shock those immortals. At this time, Hishito Knotweed sat up from the operating table. Gojo Satoru also raised his head at this time. Hey, teacher. Welcome back. Gojo Satoru also had a smile on his face. What happened during the time I died? Nothing much happened except that you almost got dissected. Ah. Who are you? Hishito Kizui finally remembered that he was naked at the moment, and there was a beautiful and pretty big sister in a white coat standing next to him. I am the dearest sister. Ayaruji's smile was as gentle as water. Do you need me to modify his death log? No need, this can delay the threat from the higher-ups to him. Gojo Satoru stood up and said, I'm going out for a walk. Seeing Knotweed Hisahito wake up made Gojo Satoru feel much better. And now he plans to kill a few high-level officials to shock those rotten old men. This night was destined to be restless. After all, the young master of the Gojo family went on a killing spree. If it were placed on an ordinary conjurer, it would definitely be stamped with the stamp of a villain. But this was done by the eldest son of the Gojo family, so no matter how angry those senior officials were, they could only swallow their grievances. After all, they didn't dare to really force Gojo Satoru to rebel. Just thinking about it, the 6 eyes of the sky are standing opposite. This scene makes your scalp numb. After today, Gojo Satoru also strengthened the teaching and care of his students. But then Gojo Satoru was attracted by another thing. The exchange conference of the Magic High School was coming soon. Gojo Satoru asked all 3 of his students to participate. In addition to Fushiguro Megumi and Kazuna Hisahito, he also accepted another student, Kugasaki Nozomi, a cheerful and generous girl. Gojo Satoru found Rosen and saw Rosen, Panda and Fushiguro Sumiki making noodles at the door of his house. Gojo Satoru also brought a bowl of noodles familiarly and sat down opposite Rosen. Teacher, will Sumiki participate in the exchange meeting of the Magic High School? If you don't go, it would be too bullying if she goes. Is she strong now? Gojo Satoru looked at Fushiguro Sumiki. Her current physical skills level is equivalent to your 2nd year of school. Hey, this is too exaggerated. She has only studied with you for less than a semester. Teacher, are you hiding something secret from me? Why don't you find the reason in yourself? For so many years, your strength has not improved, and the number of cursed spirits you have defeated is pitiful. This time, because of your negligence, you almost killed your own students, so you should reflect on yourself. Every word of Rosen's words pierced Gojo Satoru's heart. Senior, I'm actually not that powerful, it's just because the bonus in immortal mode is higher. What sage mode? When Gojo Satoru heard the new term, he immediately realized that there were many things in Rosen that he had not yet discovered. Ah, senior, don't you know the immortal mode? Let me see. Fushiguro Sumiki put down the bowl and chopsticks, walked to the open space, put his hands together, and entered Senjutsu. Sage mode. In an instant, Fushiguro Sumiki's body was covered by 2 chi, and her spell power and her body were all sublimating. At the same time, obscure lines appeared on her face, which looked somewhat similar to Liangmi and Sunuo. Gojo Satoru showed a look of surprise. His previous judgment of Fushiguro Sumiki was that the level of a first-level conjurer was not yet a quasi-special level. That immortal mode, no matter how strong it is, can't be upgraded to a special level. But Fushiguro Sumiki's performance shocked him on the spot. This is true sublimation, all-round improvement. Moreover, Gojo Satoru clearly felt that the energy emanating from Fushiguro Sumiki had a faint suppressive effect on his own spell power. This forced him to re-examine the ups and downs of Kurozu Miki and the energy on her body. The chi that Fushiguro Sumiki cultivated was obviously not just as superficial as he had learned about it, but it must have other effects. It's a pity that I don't have the talent to cultivate chi, otherwise, I would definitely be able to make a big improvement in my strength. Withdrawing his envious gaze, Gojo Satoru said sourly, not bad. It's more important to develop those eyes of yours than worrying about refining chi or anything else. Teacher, when I develop these eyes to the extreme, I will fight you. I look forward to that day coming, but don't brag. At this moment, a spell appeared in the nearby mountains and forests. This spell was extremely large, dangerous, and full of provocations. Gojo Satoru looked at Rosen. Your family raised one. I don't know, it must be wild. Rosen said. When Rosen found the cursed spirit that was emitting spell power and provoking him, Rosen was stunned. Leak. Why leak? Shouldn't he go find Gojo Satoru? He, you are indeed arrogant enough. Facing the power of my uncle, you actually dared to come here alone. Luahu grinned. Ah, I didn't come alone, I was very afraid of death. Rosen said with a smile. Well, I brought several people here. Rosen pointed to the hilltop not far away, where Gojo Satoru, Fushiguro Sumiki and Panda were standing watching the battle. Did you let them come to appreciate your death? Or did you let them come and be buried here with you? Luahu's strength may not be the strongest among the cursed spirits, but he must be the most arrogant cursed spirit. Maybe they are here to admire my heroic appearance. Rosen said. He really didn't understand. Hadn't Kensuo already tested himself? Why did you trick me again? Is it because you didn't test your old skills last time, so you came to test your old skills again? Liuhu is indeed stronger than the 3 special spell spirits last time. However, his strength is very limited, and there is no substantial difference. At the same time, Kangsuo and Waiu were standing on another cliff. Kensuo, what are the chances of Liuhu winning? His success rate is 0. Is there a big difference? Waiu frowned. Generally speaking, in battles of the same level, even if there is a significant gap, it is difficult to achieve a 100% chance of winning. Therefore, he always felt that even if there was a gap in strength between Luahu and Rosen, there would still be no 10% chance of winning. In fact, Kensuo also hopes that Liuhu can explore more things. After all, there is a big difference between dealing with a spellcaster who knows the basics and a spellcaster who doesn't know the depth at all. Waiu looked into the distance, with a bit of worry in his eyes. They all regard themselves as new humans, humans who are purer than humans. This recognition comes from their wisdom and their ability to empathize. They also have the concept of companions. The Luahu in Waiu's cognition is his companion. But Luohu, this idiot, unknowingly stepped into the lies that Kensuo had spun for him. Let him face an impossible enemy. Rosen looked at the leak in front of him jokingly. There is no doubt that Leahu is powerful. It's just that he always likes to challenge the peak game. In the original work, Wu Zhao Enlightenment was beaten twice, and then he was beaten to death. Then he challenged Su Nuo to a duel, and then was hacked to death. From his image to his achievements, everything is hilarious. You will pay the price for your ignorance. Luahu said sadly. Suddenly, a spout appeared on the mountain wall next to Rosen. Then a hot flame blasted out from the nozzle. Rosen turned to look at the spout, watching the flames engulf him. Luahu showed a satisfied smile. It's really weak. Is this the strongest among humans? If that's all, then the human species is not even qualified to exist. But the next moment, the violent flames were sucked into a certain point like being sucked into a vacuum cleaner, and then disappeared completely. Samsara I. Ninjutsu absorption. Rosen's palm condensed a ball of fire, and with a pinch, the energy in the fireball bloomed instantly. Kensuo, who was standing far away, narrowed his eyes slightly, trying to absorb the spell. This spell is not easy to deal with, and the information in hand is too little. I don't know if any spells can be absorbed. If so, it will be troublesome. Luahu saw this scene, but without any hesitation, he rushed towards Rosen again. His palms condensed flames as hot and violent as magma, and he slapped Rosen on the chest. With this blow, the violent flames instantly engulfed Rosen. Then came the second and third blows, and the leaks continued to swim around Rosen's body. Leopold's speed is very fast, and every part of his body can spit fire, accelerating like a rocket engine. The violent explosions continued on Rosen's body. After attacking more than a dozen times, the leak finally stopped. It's time to die now, right? Before Luahu could declare the winner, Rosen once again walked out of the smoke. Not even his clothes were damaged at all, and he still had that joking smile. Such a weak attack, can you create some slightly threatening attacks? Rosen looked at Luahu mockingly. Luahu was completely raged, and violent flames were sprayed from the top and sides of his head. Since you want to die, then I will grant it to you. The realm expands. The coffin is sealed and the mountain is surrounded by iron. The field of leaky coral expanded to wrap Rosen inside. This realm of his is a closed realm, forming a sphere. The inside is like the inside of a volcano, full of heat and high temperature. But his domain was ineffective against Rosen. In fact, this field is indeed very strong. Most spellcasters, even super-level spellcasters, will be burned to ashes in a short time once they fall into his field. But he was facing Rosen. For Rosen, this kind of temperature was not even as good as the temperature generated by his own transformation into the Golden Crow. This direct attack type of field expansion is also the easiest for Rosen to deal with. It doesn't even need to destroy the field. Even if he drives the field forever, he can't hurt Rosen. Rosen raised the two fingers of his right hand, with the index and middle fingers slightly bent. Since you made such a grand move, I should respect you a little bit. The field unfolds. The sun. The moment Rosen's domain expanded, Leahu's domain immediately collapsed. In the original work, Gojo Satoru's infinite space can directly cover the area of the lake. Rosen's domain also instantly covered Leahu's domain. It is not accurate to say that it covers, because Rosen's field is a supergiant sun of 10,000 meters. When this giant sun appeared in the mountain stream, both the bystanders and the corals trapped in the sun were shocked from ear to ear. Kensuo had thought about Rosen's power, but never thought it would be so powerful. For example, the diameter of Gojo Satoru's domain is 100 meters, and the diameter of Rokuro's domain is 50 meters. In some open areas, the coverage range is usually within 100 meters, and rarely exceeds 100 meters. But Rosen's field, file size, frightened Kensuo. The combined domain expansion of all the magicians in the world is probably not as large as Rosen's domain expansion. This is the first time Rosen has used it to fight after awakening and expanding his field. Speaking of which, Rosen's field expansion and Leahu's field expansion are also of the same type. However, the lethality is completely different, because the inside of Rosen's field can reach temperatures of 1,000,000 degrees. As long as Rosen's domain cannot be neutralized or destroyed in a short period of time, then Rosen's domain will wipe out all enemies. Leahu is a cursed spirit born because of human beings' fear of the earth, and volcanoes are the form in which he expresses his power. But he never thought that he would be burned to death or even burned to ashes. No place to hide, no way to avoid. Humans. Are really a terrifying species. Leahu's body gradually dissipated. After the battle, Rosen appeared outside his own domain and looked up at the supergiant fireball floating several meters above the ground. Rosen stretched out his hand and grasped it, and the supergiant fireball shrank, until it was only a glass bead file size. Finally, Rosen held it in his hand and stuffed it into his mouth. Then he looked at a large mountain dozens of kilometers away. Kensuo and Wyu clenched their fists at the same time. Wyu was angry when he felt that his companion Luo was dead. Kensuo was vaguely excited. At this time, Rosen had just used domain expansion. He must be in a fused state now. If he fought with Rosen at this time, he would have a good chance of taking down Rosen. No, that's not right. He knew his purpose, and he even opened the field to expand on purpose. He just wanted to tell himself that he was already in a state of fuse. He is tempting himself to take action. Kensuo whispered, "Let's go." Even though Rosen was very tempting at this time, as a 1,000-year-old coin, it was impossible for Kensuo to take even the slightest risk. For most conjurers, spell fuse is indeed very dangerous. But for a small number of magicians, the fuse of the spell only reduces the risk from 100% to 99%. The more powerful Rosen showed, the more eager Kensuo was. Of course, Luohu's sacrifice this time was not completely worthless, at least he tested the expansion of Rosen's field. On the other side, Rosen stood still, checking his body. Originally, Rosen thought that he would not suffer from a magic meltdown. Technical fusing is like a fuse in an electric switch. It blows because of overload. However, the expansion of his field has not reached the limit. Logically speaking, he should not have a magic meltdown. As a result, Rosen discovered that he would also suffer from magical fuses. It's just that the infinite reversal spell directly heals the meltdown spell. Just like the method of Gojo Satoru and Su Nuo, they use the reversal technique to cure the fuse. The entire process from the fuse of the spell to the infinite reversal of the spell to cure the fuse only takes 10 seconds. This means that Rosen's spell fuse time will be shorter than that of any conjurer, including Su Nuo and Gojo Satoru. And this kind of healing circuit breaker puts no pressure on Rosen. In the duel with Su Nuo, Gojo Satoru's healing melted 3 times in a row, causing his brain to almost shut down. However, Rosen still didn't understand why the magic fuse happened to him. Gojo Satoru came to Rosen. "Teacher, are you okay?" "It's okay." "Satoru, why did I enter the magic fuse?" Rosen asked. "Oh, teacher, have you entered the fusion technique now?" Gojo Satoru's eyes shone, and he was eager to try. Although defeating Rosen like this is boring, being able to beat Rosen once is very interesting. "Have you forgotten? I have an infinite reversal technique." "Okay." Gojo Satoru shrugged. "Teacher, do you want to know why the release field is expanded and does not reach your limit, but the spell fuses? Are you the same as me?" Of course, 6 eyes can reduce the consumption of any spells and spells by 99%. So for me, there has never been a situation where the spell power is not enough. The expansion of the field does consume a lot of money, but for me, that is 1% consumption, but I will still enter the magic fuse. Quote. Why is this? Field expansion is not only the consumption of mantra power. In fact, the mantra power of many special level magicians is very large. What really causes the spell to melt is a certain area in the brain. Domain expansion is the combination of inner imagination and one's own power. And then it materializes. The real burden is the brain power, not the magic power. Rosen understood that he had trained everything but his brain. Therefore, if someone else has a surgical meltdown, you will also have a surgical meltdown. Rosen suddenly remembered that most of Gojo Satoru's moves were the embodiment of imagination. I have been analyzing the formula and operation method of the unlimited technique. After so many years, the formula and operation method of the unlimited technique have been completely analyzed, but I have never been able to activate it successfully. Rosen has been analyzing where he is missing all this time, but he has ignored the most fundamental foundation of the unlimited technique, imagination. Gojo Satoru once said in the battle with Okuko that no lower limit represents the most common sense of physics. There is a distance between objects and there is a distance between atoms and atoms, so it is impossible for any object to really fit together. Gojo Satoru visualizes the distance between atoms. Rosen imagined the distance between atoms in his mind, imagining this distance and physical knowledge, and at the same time, the spell began to activate. Gojo Satoru raised his eyebrows, and he felt the familiar magic power fluctuations on Rosen's body. This is a technique with no lower limit. Rosen looked at his hands, raised his hand and extended it to Gojo Satoru. Here, shake hands. Gojo Satoru was a little surprised, but took it for granted, and stretched out his hand to join Rosen's. The two hands cannot go any further if they are 2 centimeters apart. Have you reached any limit? Okay, I got it. Gojo Satoru didn't feel that Rosen had secretly learned his technique. After all, Rosen has taught him many unique techniques over the years. Shinra Tensai, Wanshiong Tenbaiki, Susanoo, these are all unique techniques. What's more, Rosen also helped him evolve the 6 eyes of the sky into the eye of the sky. It's just that Gojo Satoru feels that the current Rosen is already strong enough, and it is already difficult to defeat him. Now that he has mastered the unlimited technique, it will be even harder for him to defeat Rosen. Rosen was in a good mood. He finally understood the unlimited technique. The next step was to optimize the unlimited technique to reach the level of unlimited technique. However, Rosen also began to think about Kenzo's next move, the Shibuya incident, and whether Prison Gate would seal himself or Gojo Satoru. Can Prison Gate Jong seal itself? Rosen thought about the working principle of Prison Gate. Prison Gate is said to be a seal, but it is more like a curse that slows down time 1,000,000 times. As long as the object is sealed by the Prison Gate, the physical body and the power of the spell will be slowed down. This is also the reason why the sealed object cannot be broken no matter how strong it is. Even if he is imprisoned in the Prison Gate for 1 day, perhaps thousands of years have passed in the Prison Gate. Moreover, both the physical body and the power of the spell were slowed down 1,000,000 times, making it impossible to break through the Prison Gate from the inside. Even Rosen himself couldn't do anything while slowing down 1,000,000 times. So Rosen didn't want to be sealed by Prison Gate at all. Gojo Satoru was sealed by the Prison Gate. It was when he saw the fake Shayuji that he lost consciousness for a moment and forgot to think. That moment of hesitation led to his being sealed. But Kensuo had nothing to make him lose his mind. If he were Kensuo, how could he make himself lose consciousness? After thinking about it for a long time, Rosen didn't expect it. After all, Rosen himself didn't even know what his weaknesses were. Kensuo didn't have any detailed information about himself. His desire to seal himself was almost the same as directly defeating him. At the exchange conference of the Magic College, there was no attack by magic spirits as Rosen thought. After the Magic High School exchange conference, Hisahito Kugi is currently walking down the street with Megumi Fushiguro and Rose Kugizuki. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Notweed Yoren's pupils suddenly shrank, and he looked at the figure in front of him with burning eyes. Japanese Notweed, what's wrong? Megumi Fushiguro noticed something was wrong with Hisahito's face. Polygonum Striata Yoren looked dazed and shook his head. It's nothing, maybe he recognized the wrong person. Yes, I must have mistakenly admitted the wrong person. How could it be that person? That person was already dead. In the following time, Notweed Hisahito was still haunted. Let's go back to the dormitory. Kugizuki Wild Rose and Fushiguro Megumi both felt that something was wrong with Kazuna Hisuhito's condition and made suggestions. You guys go back, I'll take a walk alone. Megumi Fushiguro and Rose Kugizuki nodded and didn't force it any further. Hishido Notweed wanders the streets alone. And that figure appeared in front of Kazuki Hisahito again. Notweed Hisahito did not hesitate this time and strode forward to catch up. However, the man disappeared around the corner. Japanese Notweed Hisahito quickly quickened his pace and chased around the corner. But around the corner is a dead end with no one in it. Just when Hirohito thought he had made a mistake and was about to turn around, he suddenly smelled the fragrance of flowers and then he didn't know anything else. Kensuo and Waiu appeared in front of Yoren Notweed. Looking at the unconscious Notweed Yoren on the ground, Kensuo had a faint smile on his face. Speaking of which, Hisuhito Notweed is his son. It was born from his current physical body, Notweed Kaori, and his own blood. At the same time, Japanese Notweed Hisahito is also his most outstanding work. Kensuo took out 5 of Su-Nuo's fingers and stuffed them into the mouth of Polygonum Ginny Yoren. In addition to being the son of Kensuo, Heron Yoren is also the eldest nephew of Su-Nuo. Thousands of years ago, Su-Nuo had a sibling before he was born, but Su-Nuo ate this sibling when he was still in his mother's womb. However, his brother did not die completely. His body was integrated by Su-Nuo. Su Nuo's 4 eyes and 4 arms were due to the integration of his brother's body. The soul of Su Nuo, the unborn brother, was reincarnated and eventually reincarnated into the father of Polygonum cuspidatum Yoren, Polygonum cuspidatum Ren. Polygonum cuspidatum combined with Kaori, who was possessed by the rope, and gave birth to Polygonum cuspidatum Yoren. It is precisely because of the special bloodline of Polygonum cuspidatum Yoren that he was able to suppress Su Nuo's consciousness. After feeding the Japanese knotweed Hishido to Su Nuo's finger, the Japanese knotweed Hishido was thrown on the street. That was until Fushiguro Megumi and Kugizaki Wild Rose found the unconscious Kazuna Hisuhito. After confirming that Hisuhito was not injured, the two reported to Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru personally made a trip to bring the 3 of them back. Now Heron of Polygonum cuspidatum has swallowed 12 Su Nuo fingers. The first finger, the 6 fingers of the Conjurer Association, was not long ago stuffed with 5 fingers. In the Xingxing Palace, a cursed spirit sneaked into it silently. In the deepest part of the Xingxing Palace, Tianyuan suddenly opened his eyes. As long as he is within the scope of his barrier, he knows everything, and of course he can feel the little cursed spirit. However, Tianyuan didn't take action. It was just a 3rd-level cursed spirit, not even an ant in Tianyuan's eyes. The 3rd-level cursed spirit will definitely not be intelligent, but this cursed spirit can avoid all kinds of detection and traps and go straight to his palace. So it's no surprise that this level 3 cursed spirit is controlled by someone. The cursed spirit stopped when it arrived at Tianyuan's residence. Tianyuan's eyes narrowed, and he felt the aura emanating from this cursed spirit. That's his 1000-year CP, Kensuo. Kensuo, what are you doing here? The goals of both of them are actually the same, pursuing the highest evolution. However, the two of them behaved differently. Tianyuan cooperates with the magician to establish a community of interests. Kensuo's method is to create various combinations of humans and cursed spirits, and conduct various experiments in bloody and twisted ways. This also resulted in different situations between the two. One became the supreme ruler of magicians, and the other became a street rat in the magic world. Cooperate. Kensuo was currently controlling this low-level cursed spirit. Cooperation. I don't think we have any cooperation. Tianyuan said disapprovingly, with a tone that was far away. Kensuo threw over a piece of information, and Tianyuan took it and read it over. This information is exactly about Rosen. The more Tianyuan looked, the more frightened he became, and he raised his head to look at Kong Suo. What do you want to do? You have been integrating the bloodlines and bodies of various spellcasters. Rosen will be the most important part in completing your supreme evolution. What do you think? Don't you want to get his body? Of course, I don't deny this. As for who gets Rosen's body, it depends on your ability and mine. But the problem now is how to defeat him. Kensuo did not hide his ambitions and desires. The two of them had been fighting for thousands of years and had known each other for a long time. Now that he was secretive, Tianyuan might not believe what he said, so it would be better to be honest. At least both of them believe that defeating Rosen is more difficult than grabbing food from the opponent's hands. Therefore, their top priority now is not how to distribute, but how to defeat Rosen. Even if I join forces with you, I may not be able to defeat him. Yes, but what if Su Nuo is added? Not enough. Tianyuan replied truthfully. What about the 10 Shadows technique? 10 Shadow technique. Tianyuan naturally knows the strongest form of the 10 Shadow technique, Demon Shu Luo, but he also knows the weakness of Demon Shu Luo. He is sure to kill Demon Shu Luo instantly. Rosen must be able to do the same, and soon he shook his head. Not enough. And what about Liang Mi and Su Nuo? I think even Su Nuo is probably not as good as him. Tianyuan had seen Su Nuo in his heyday and knew how powerful Su Nuo was. But even Su Nuo in his heyday was not as overwhelming as Rosen. In addition to Su Nuo, I am also planning to resurrect 10 ancient magicians, all of whom are the strongest in the same era, and 10 most powerful magic spirits. Each of them also possesses the abilities of the top magicians, strength. When Tianyuan heard this, he couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Even he was frightened by Kensuo's generosity. If this kind of power were used to attack him, he probably wouldn't be able to stop it. And for Rosen, I specially designed a death return barrier specifically for him. Incidents of cursed spirits have become more and more frequent in the magic world recently. The students and teachers of the Conjuration College were running out every now and then. Rosen rarely assigned tasks to him. The main reason is that there are no tasks that require Rosen to take action, and the second reason is that Rosen's asking price is too high. For general entrusted tasks, there is a 50-50 split between the entrustee and the school. But if Rosen accepted the commission, fighting hard would be an 82 split. As an intermediary, the school cannot even recover the cost price of the information. Unless it was a commissioned task that had to be done by Rosen, Rosen would never be approached. Rosen clearly felt that something was wrong. Even many conjurers feel it. There have been too many curse incidents recently. Many conjurers sense that something big is about to happen. So much so that the Spellmasters Association now dispatches a large number of spellmasters to Tokyo. Rosen contacted all his students and asked them not to leave Tokyo easily to avoid accidents. Rosen had a hunch that this collective riot of cursed spirits was caused by Kensuo's handiwork. But what exactly he wanted to do, Rosen didn't know. No one can understand the thoughts of a 1,000-year-old monster. The trio of Kazuna Hisahito, Kugizuki Wild Rose and Fushiguro Megumi teamed up to defeat a special cursed spirit. Is this? Kugizuki Wild Rose discovered that there was a finger embedded in the chest of this super-grade cursed spirit. This cursed spirit suddenly evolved into a super-grade cursed spirit because of this finger. Both Rose and Fushiguro Megumi looked at Hisuhito Knotweed. Knotweed, eat it. Knotweed Hisahito took the finger with a frown on his face. After doing a good job of psychological preparation, forcefully swallow the finger. How many are there now? 14. No one knows that Hisato's 5 fingers were stuffed with a rope earlier. So his real number is 19 fingers, not 14. Have you noticed that the process of collecting Su-Nuo's fingers has gone too smoothly recently? Fushiguro Megumi said. Isn't this a good thing? Kugizuki Wild Rose asked doubtfully. Have you forgotten that once the Knotweed swallows 20 Su-Nuo fingers, he will be executed? Fushiguro Megumi said with a solemn face. Hearing this, Kugizuki Wild Rose suddenly fell into silence. Perhaps it was because there had been no accidents recently, so that they all forgot that Hirohito the Japanese Knotweed still had a reprieve. At this moment, a woman appeared in front of the 3 people. When Hirohito saw this woman, he couldn't help but shed tears. Mother, quote. Kugizuki Wild Rose and Fushiguro Megumi both looked at the woman in front of them in astonishment. Yigu Yutai just solved a special curse spirit. This special level curse spirit is not difficult to deal with, but Yuta Yigu's expression turned serious. Because he found that after he killed this special curse spirit, the power of the curse disappeared. This means that this special grade curse spirit is not a naturally occurring curse spirit, but may have been deliberately created by someone. But he had no way of knowing the specific purpose. Is it just to create chaos? This cursed spirit massacred dozens of people here and attacked everyone in the area indiscriminately. It was not until Otoko Yuta arrived at the scene that the killing was stopped. After Otoko Yuta left, a logistics team from the Magicians Association came to the scene to clean up the mess. Not even a drop of blood was left at the scene. This group of logistics team members took away all the corpses and blood. And this doesn't happen just once. Several incidents of this kind occur every day, all of which involve magical spirits suddenly appearing and then attacking everyone in the surrounding area indiscriminately. Otoko Yuta reported his guess to the Conjurers Association, and then there was no further information. Teacher. Rosen raised his head and looked at Yuta Otoko. Why did you come to see me in your spare time today? Are you so listless? Did you break up with Erika? Yigu Yuta had a dark look on his face. No, Li Shang and I are fine. Besides Li Shang, what else can make you dejected? Or is your teacher dead? If you die, teacher, I will set off fireworks to celebrate. Yuta Otoko looked at Rosen speechlessly. I have recently reported a large number of cursed spirits to Tokyo, and they are killing people for no reason. I have reported it to the Magicians Association, but there is no follow-up investigation, so I doubt whether all this is controlled by the Magicians Association. Maybe it's not the Spellcasters Association that's behind the scenes, but they are also involved. Teacher, you mean, those decedent. The Conjurers Association and Kensuo are colluding together. This is what Kensuo said himself. But this is not surprising. Kensuo has been active in the magic world for thousands of years. It is impossible to say that there are no obvious chess pieces arranged. Those old men were either doing it for profit, or they simply wanted to use Kensuo to achieve their own goals. If you like rules, then don't explore the truth and just do your part. If you want the truth to be revealed, then kill a few high-level officials who don't like it. Don't let go of the wrong ones. Rosen guessed that all of this might be a killing plot arranged by Kensuo for himself. But how this would develop, he couldn't guess. Now he just needs to wait for Kensuo to reveal his trump card. Rosen's words were a little unacceptable to Yigayuta. After all, he is just an innocent boy now. Rosen patted Otoko Yuta on the shoulder. At this moment, Rosen's phone rang. Hey, principal, what's going on? Luo, 3 super-grade curse spirits appeared at Shibuya No. 2 subway station, and the association issued a commission of 200 million yen. Shibuya. Rosen was lost in thought. You want me to take action? The association's elders require you to take action personally. I understand. Rosen nodded. It seems that Kensuo is ready, so let's see what kind of stage Kensuo has prepared for himself. Teacher, let me go with you. Otoko Yuta said. Rosen glanced at Otogu Yuta. Do you think I can't deal with 4 stray dogs? No, I just feel, could this be a trap set by the association's senior management against you? Yes, but there is no need to worry. The danger of a conspiracy is that it is unpredictable and impossible to deal with. But when they take action, the conspiracy is no longer a conspiracy. Rosen said with a smile. And, I also look forward to it. They will. What kind of stage are you setting for me? When Rosen walked out of the Conjuring College, he felt a few glances. Rosen raised his finger and clicked it on the left, and a gorgeous firework bloomed 100 meters away. He clicked on the right again, and a ball of flame also bloomed 100 meters away. A figure rushed towards Rosen quickly, and Rosen reached out to grab the attacker's head. Go back and tell the people behind you that when I walk out of school, the world of magic will change for me. After breaking off the attacker's limbs, Rosen walked away. There was nothing unusual in Shibuya at this time, and there were people playing everywhere. Noisy sounds filled the streets. It doesn't look like the government has locked down the place. When Rosen arrived outside Shibuya subway station No. 2, he could already smell the strong smell. The entrance was sealed with a seal, and there were several ordinary police officers outside who were responsible for preventing people from entering the subway station. It has to be said that the top leaders of the Spellmasters Association have completely lost their temper and actually let ordinary people block the area where the special curse spirit event occurred. When Rosen walked into the subway station, the smell of blood had completely dissipated. Rosen saw the body of a girl stuck to the wall, with blood fully blooming, like a bloody painting. The deeper you go, the more bodies there are on the walls and ceiling. All of these corpses were young girls, and their deaths were surprisingly consistent. Flesh and blood are embedded in the concrete, and blood blooms. Suddenly, Rosen saw a twisted flesh and blood crawling towards him. The twisted flesh and blood are not cursed spirits, but ordinary people whose souls have been twisted. Anyone who likes to turn ordinary people into this must be a special level cursed spirit, a real person. This is a real person's exclusive technique. In-action transformation. Whether it is an enemy or himself, he can change the shape of his soul at will, and then the soul affects the shape of his body. In the world of magic, no matter good or evil, they all have their own obsessions and attitudes. But the real person's attitude is perverted. His appearance is the most human-like of the cursed spirits, but he is also the one with the most twisted thinking. He's easily everyone's most hated character. At this moment, Rosen saw a beautiful flower field in front of him. It's so beautiful. A gentle smile appeared on Rosen's face. While Rosen was intoxicated in the flower field, a figure quickly rushed towards Rosen. The person who came was none other than a real person. His hand was less than 1 centimeter away from Rosen. But it was this centimeter distance, no matter how hard he tried, he could never get close. At the same time, Rosen had also woken up from the sea of flowers in front of him. There was no sea of flowers around at this moment, but only mountains of corpses. The bodies of thousands of ordinary people were massacred here. Rosen lowered his head and glanced at the real person who made a sneak attack on him. The real person quickly backed away, trying to escape from Rosen. Rosen raised his eyelids and glanced at the real person casually. With a flick of his hand, the ground rolled up and an impact with shocking destructive power hit the real person. At this moment, several octopus tentacles suddenly jumped out and pulled the real person away. The real person turned his head and looked at Tuo Jen, who had saved him. "Thank you." Tuo Jen is a special level curse spirit created by humans' fear of the ocean. He is short in stature and has a red-skinned squid head that looks like Cthulhu. Of course, regardless of his position, he still looks very cute. Tuo Jen opened his mouth and a jet of water spurted out from his mouth. Rosen put his hands together, water escape, water vibration wave. Rosen's mouth also spurted a jet of water, which offset Tuo Jen's attack. Tuo Jen was a little surprised. He didn't expect Rosen to be able to launch the same attack as him. Hana Yu also walked out from behind the pillar of the station. Wyu, Zhenren, Tuogan, plus Luahu are the 4 heavenly kings under Kong Suo. Is it just the 3 of you? If that's all, it will make me very disappointed, extremely disappointed. The 3 cursed spirits looked at Rosen with hatred. The 4 cursed spirits regarded each other as family members, but Luohu was killed by Rosen. They were also full of hatred for Rosen. So Kensuo arranged for the 3 of them to ambush Rosen here, and they took it without hesitation. Although they knew that they would die in this trap, even though they knew that they could not defeat Rosen. Wyu was the first to take action, and when he took action, it was a direct killing move. The realm expands. Dine on the sea of light. In an instant, countless flowers began to grow on the ground. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.